Shirt show. All right, let's go.
Shirt show! Talking shirt! Shirt show! Talking shirt! Shirt show! Talking shirt! Shirt show! Shirt, man! All right! Episode 70 of Shirt Show. We're talking with Drew from 320 Inc. in Maine. Let's go!
Hey, Boo Bear.
Beauty pie.
Hey, sweetie.
Hey there.
Hey.
Hey.
How is that weekend treating you?
Pretty great. Not bad. Yeah.
I saw you were at that cider place.
Fuck yeah.
And you got me some, right?
Mm-hmm. It's on the way.
Yeah. They can ship that shit.
Yeah, I didn't put any bubble wrap or anything on it. I just put a gallon jug in a box. I'm hoping it works out.
Yeah, that should make it.
Yeah, no, that's like one of the best things about where I'm from. It's just fresh, cider and donuts.
Oh, I didn't know about the donuts part.
Oh yeah. Fresh made powdered sugar donuts.
Hmm.
Cinnamon sugar donuts.
You mean with the cider?
Yeah.
It's a combo thing?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can eat them separately, but it's not spooky season. Yeah. So I had a Maine press operator decide to quit with a text message with no reply, no show, no notice.
That's called the abrupt quit. I was going to say something worse.
Fuck you is what I got.
The abrupt fuck you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if there's anything worse.
No, it's pretty good.
It's pretty bad.
Yeah. And that was last episode we did. I didn't want to say anything or get into it too much.
Because it was
like
fresh.
it was like a half hour before. Yeah, so that happened, and then I had like a quick call, a couple people that work here, and said, "Hey, let's figure it out." So pretty much, me and Brian have been on press all week. Brian sets up the jobs. I go out and I run it and print it. And yeah, I mean, it was funny too, because we had like a shop meeting and everybody was positive and upbeat, and we all had a really good week, and everybody was in good spirits and good mood all week. So that part was awesome. I mean, nothing's really wrong. Like, we're still chugging along. We're still printing. It's just, it was like an abrupt, oh shit, like, what are we going to do? But once we figured it out, it was totally fine. So we've got plans in place now. Everything's good. But yeah, I'd like to dive more into that, into the episode.
Sure.
Yeah. But other than that, I mean, not a whole lot. We still busy as fuck. I got sick. That was awesome. I got sick Monday, right after the whole, fuck you thing. So I've been sick all week with head cold and, sniffles. I do not have COVID. It is just a cold. I'm kind of getting over it now. The last couple of days, I've just been coughing, but I did have a great ending to my week, though. Brian and Kristen invited us over for a bonfire at his house, and he made this fucking baller fire pit in his backyard. And Kristen made like delicious treats, and it was nice to just sit with friends around a fire. It was like perfect, like fall weather. It was like 70 in the day, and then it was like whatever, like 45, 50 at night, and it was like nice to sit around a fire.
Yeah, I love that.
And that was last night. So it was nice to kind of end the week with that. It was nice.
Yeah, I needed the weekend. That's for sure. I think by Thursday at noon, I was ready for the weekend. It was one of those weeks. And I went and took a nap in the car.
In the parking lot?
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Which parking lot? Oh, I drove actually to Walmart. Because there's all sorts of people sleeping in their parking lot. It's pretty normal.
Yeah. So
I fit right in. Mm-hmm. And, just for like 30 minutes, because it's just been a week, sort of like, I didn't have anybody abruptly quit, but we had some people out. One was his wife had a baby, and so he was out, and I was on press a lot, and that's okay. And one day I was on press because of another thing. We can actually, you're right, this is probably be good to talk about later in the episode, this sort of stuff, like when an owner ends up on press,
So I saw an ad on Craigslist the other day
Oh, yeah?
It read for sale, barely used DeLorean, only driven from time to time.
Well, I have a spooky, because it's that time of year, joke. You ready?
Mm-hmm. I'm wondering if it's the exact same one that I have.
I hope. Well, actually, I stole this from Joanne because she wrote Halloween jokes on everyone's paycheck and drew a picture. So the question is, why did the park ranger arrest the ghost?
I don't know.
He didn't have his haunting license.
Pretty good.
That's a Joanne.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Why is it cheaper to throw a party in a haunted house?
I read like 30 of these this morning, and I think this was one of them, but I can't remember.
Because the ghost will bring the booze.
All right. Well, we got to stick with this. We got to stay in the Halloween spirit for the next few episodes. So maybe we should save some.
Okay.
But yeah,
all right.
Those are some good ones. There's some pure fire.
So
yeah. So now we just sit here. We don't say anything. Dead air.
And just sit in silence for a couple minutes.
Stare at each other.
I got these fresh beverages from my buddy this week.
Now, I will tell you this. I tried to get you the glass bottle ones so that you can break them on people's front porches or mailboxes or whatever. But they're completely
I like front
out.
porches better. It's just fucking shatter bottles on people's front porches.
That's right. I know that's what you used to do.
Move.
That's another tradition up there in New York. You know, first you get your cider,
right?
You get some donuts, and then you
wake up to broken glass on your front porch.
Yeah, it's a fun night.
Right.
What was I saying?
You were saying something about
check.
I can see your flies down. I can see it.
Yeah, I don't have a zipper. I don't have a fly.
It's because you don't have pants on, you fucking pervert.
That's not true.
I don't.
Check this out.
What you got? Nice fresh stickies. Dude, I have so many fucking stickers.
And this one, which I know that you have a little story about.
Ooh, yeah, the little AKTs.
You told me a story.
Yeah.
Right.
So the story is that basically, and it's funny too. I saw that like Bruce did a podcast with AKT.
Oh, really?
And, yeah. And I watched the whole thing the other day. And it was funny too, because like back in the day when I first started and when I was still doing my first company, I was like religiously on MTs. Like I was on there all the time, like talking about shirts and art and everything else. And, you know, there was like the regulars that were on the forums all the time. And like one of them was like AKT. And, you know, there was a couple other companies. It was like one of the ones where you're like, oh, cool. It'd be cool to be like in that position at some point, like with them. Like I was on there, but like, I mean, as far as like companies you kind of looked up to a little bit. And then, yeah, you know, life went on and we grew made another company, made Upstate Merch, whatever. And then to get a package recently from AKT saying, you know, that they love the show and, you know, keep doing what we're doing and everything else and sending us a little care package was pretty rad. It was a full, you know, like 15-year full circle. Right. But it was awesome. Yeah.
So we should probably talk about our friends, huh?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So Dylan, did you know Easy Way's line of eco-friendly chemicals will get the job done faster, more efficiently, and will cost you a fraction of the cost per
screen?
Yeah.
I did. Yeah, I knew that.
Yeah. Did you also know that Easy Way is the easiest
way? I have the really difficult part of this where I have to say the N word because that's all I can remember. But I can say it's the easiest way because it truly is the easiest way.
It is. Let's get this right. Easy Way.
It's the easiest way.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm like trying to breathe because I can't breathe through my nose right now. You ready? This is going to be awful because I can't fucking breathe.
It's okay.
Show me that sweet tingly finger. Oh, yeah, there it is. Oh, it was perfect because it was so nasal.
Yeah. So
yeah.
GSF That is graphic screen
Great fucking screens.
fashion or
No.
great fucking screens or
Right. Great fucking screens.
hold on, FFFFF.com.
Rank.com.
Oh,
Not
shit,
just
yeah.
F's.
No, don't just do
Dude,
that.
don't make that mistake of going to a website that's not what it is. Because I remember in science class when I was in school, I accidentally went to Dix.com because there's a Dick's Sporting Goods and I thought it was Dix.com.
Mhm.
It's not the same website.
You think it would be,
You would think, but it's not.
but it's not, huh?
No. So go to FFFFFrank.com.
That's right. Check them out. Mention the shirt show and you receive 5% off.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Next,
Okay.
Action Engineering. So, do you know what I need to buy from Action? I realized this Thursday or Friday. I was like, ooh, I need to buy this. I need another roller because I need one on every press. So, because it's hoodie season again. We were fighting over, because we just have 2 rollers and we were fighting over the like one of them. You know what I mean?
Right.
Doesn't work. 2 rollers, 3 presses don't work.
Mm-hmm.
It should just ship with, like, when you buy a press, it should ship with it.
Right.
Be part of the deal.
I agree with you.
You know, I'm going to go to checkout and I'm going to enter Shirt Show and I'm going to get 15% off. Because if I were to enter Wild Boys, they would add 15%. Is that what they do?
Right. They have to pay for Justin's
damages.
Right.
That's right. So Action Engineering, they make accessories printers need.
Mm-hmm.
Monarch.
Yeah, it's great. It's great shit. I just ordered. I mean, I'm ordering it every week. I feel like at this point. But yeah, I just ordered a bunch of more stuff. I need to order that black stuff that you got, that like pigment to make black ink. I keep forgetting to do that. I just ordered a CMYK kit to replace my international inks with those Monarch ones. Yeah, love everything about Monarch. It's great ink.
So Monarch, ink better, print better, be better.
Live Moss.
Monarch. Well, our guest is here, and
I gotta fucking breathe through my nose. It's driving me crazy.
Wow, that's super hot. Whatever you're doing there, keep doing that.
Yeah, you
Hold
like
on.
this?
Hold on. Yeah. Ooh.
I have too fat of fingers to pick my own nose.
All right. Well, are you ready?
I'm just rimming in my nose. Leave me
doing?
alone. You like this? Oh yeah.
Oh. Well, this week we have Drue Nickerson as Dylan picks his nose. Dylan, keep your fingers out of your nose.
I got my fingers in my ass right now, so I'm fine.
Okay.
Go ahead.
All right. Perfect. Well, this week we have Drue Nickerson, and he is from 320 Ink in Maine. Do we start this thing? Is that how this works?
Yeah, bring him in. Yeah.
Yo.
Nice. I'm excited. I'm glad you guys gave me an email and reached out. This is going to be fun. I've been listening for a while, so I'm stoked to be part of the show.
Yeah. There's a million people that we want to talk to. It just takes time because it's one a week.
Yeah. And that's actually pretty impressive that you guys talk to that many people. It's that's a lot of people.
Yeah. We're chugging along. So what's it like in Maine right now? Is it raining? Because it's raining here and in St. Louis.
Yeah, it's been pretty rainy. Last week was pretty nice, but I mean, it's fall, you know, it's beautiful, getting ready to, light the fires, and, already did the obligatory family apple picking, that kind of stuff. So it's that kind of weather over here.
Yeah. Spooky season.
Yeah, absolutely.
So do you have apples where you are? Do you have apples and donuts also, or cider and donuts?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Cider, donuts. The one we just went to, I'd never been to this one. They had wood-fired pizza and beer on tap. So that's my new favorite one. We'll go there every year now.
They're making them more parent friendly, apparently, because I've never seen that at any of the ones that I have. I still go to the ones where it's like the little old ladies that probably were still there when I was a kid. and they do like the full press, like the pressing the apples, and you stick your cup underneath and like get like the freshest apple cider possible.
Yeah.
I was there yesterday. So it was.
Yeah. You got to do it at least once a season. You got to do it.
Yeah, for sure.
Nice. Well, what do we do? What do you want to talk about?
We just sit here and listen to each other breathe for 3 hours.
Cool. How's everything going at you guys' shops? You guys busy?
Oh God. Yeah. We're really busy. I feel like every person I've talked to has the same response, that it's insane right now. And that, you know, they've got more than enough work or more than they can actually handle. And I was talking to some people yesterday, and they were saying that they're seeing a bunch of shops kind of folding, like they're losing press operators and they can't handle the workload, and they're kind of just like closing shop because they can't handle what's happening. But I don't know. It's just intense right now. And I think Andy's got the same problem.
Why do you think people are losing press operators?
I don't know. I know I did. But that was different circumstances. So me and Andy were talking about this earlier. I guess we're going to get right into it. But last week, before we recorded an episode, I got a text that said, I quit. You can put my paycheck in my mailbox next Friday. And it was from like one of my main press operators. And I was like, oh, cool. You know, like when I got the text, I was like, I didn't believe it. I was like, what is going on? And then I sent a reply text, like, what's going on? Like, what are you talking about? And then I called twice, no answer. And I still haven't heard anything. So, and he wasn't here all week. So
we have a new name for that.
The Abrupt Fuck You.
Right.
But yeah, it was just, I don't know. It's one of those things, like right now it's different than it's ever been, you know, with COVID and the way things have been. Last year, every year for us has been bigger than the year before, but last year was really busy and we were like, holy shit, like we're doing really, really well. And then 2021 has been like 2 times that. And, you know, right now we're talking about how we can't really give white glove service to certain customers that we would normally give because we're just too busy to even try to add things in. We made a decision this week that we can't take any more rush orders. We barely had any contract work, and the ones that we did have a couple of just like, you know, random clothing lines that are doing contract. We said no more contract work right now. It's just, we have more than enough shit to do where we're booked up like 3 to 4 weeks. And I want to make sure it just doesn't like get worse, or, you know, I'm happy for the work, but, you know, at a certain point, it's like people are going to start getting pissed if they're not going to get their stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Back to the abrupt quit. For me, anyway, I take those a little personally. Like when I have somebody put in 2 weeks, I understand. And a lot of times I know what's coming, and I'm happy for them generally. You know, because sometimes the 2 weeks is that they're taking another position and they're going to grow from that position. Sometimes they're moving out of state or whatever, you know, and so things come up. But that abrupt quit, no show from someone that's, let's say, has been here longer than a year, and sometimes 5 years, you know, it hasn't happened often, but when it does, I take it personally because I think that something's gone horribly wrong. You know, like I don't know all the circumstances in their life, and there could be reasons, of course, that they don't, you know, tell me. But I don't want to abruptly fire or terminate anyone. Whenever someone's terminated from here, which isn't often, but when it happens, they know it's coming because we've set out a plan. We've said, look, you're on probation and here's what we're working on. And if things don't change, then it could result in termination. And so they know. We've already had a discussion about it verbally, and also it's written. And then the flip side of that is I really want 2 weeks, because just as you know, as you just went through this whole week, that abrupt quit can be devastating, not, you know, to your shop. And what you did though And what you didn't mention here is that you held a meeting the next morning and your whole shop rallied behind it, and which is really cool. But at the same time, everybody has to pick up the slack of that because you had no plan. You had to have an emergency plan. And so I don't know. Those are some thoughts on that abrupt quit. I don't. It's the worst.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things though too. Is it's just like, we're a pretty tight knit crew, and when somebody does something like that, just leaves. Like obviously, there's more to it than whatever. Like there was personal issues like at home or whatever he was doing, and to just bail like that, it's kind of like, how much shit have we been through together at work and outside of work over the past like couple of years? You know what I mean? And then to just all of a sudden be like, well, I quit. And like, I know you're super busy. I know you're behind. I know if anything, you should hire like 2 more people, but I'm just going to bail with no notice, no nothing. It's kind of like, that's why I said it's an abrupt fuck you, because it's like, there's nothing. Like if he would have came in and sat at my office the next day and been like, hey man, like I've got this thing, I'm going to go do this other thing. And it's not a good fit for me anymore. And I'm like, I'm going to put in my 2 weeks. I'll be like, all right, cool. Whatever. And then that's the other thing too. Like if he moved away, which is, I guess, the plan, that if he was like, oh, I want to go work at this other print shop called 320 in Maine, I would be like, all right, cool. Like I'll call Drue up and say, hey, I've got this guy, he's moving to Maine. He's a really great worker. If you need anybody, it's a solid catch or whatever.
Sure.
Like, I would definitely do that.
And in that case, it's a win-win. He didn't burn any bridges. In this case, It's a lose-lose. Like you lost, you were screwed, for these next couple of weeks. And then also he has no reference. I mean, he's not going to put you down as a reference, right?
Right. Well, the funny thing is like, not to like toot my own horn, but a lot of people in the industry like know us. And it's like, if you're going to go get another job at a print shop, like you don't think I'm going to find out that you're working at another print shop or like who the print shop is. And it's like, I'm going to find out if you're going to go work at another print shop.
Maybe it would be bad if he mentioned, if he put you down as a reference. Maybe that isn't smart. Maybe you should say you worked at Shirkong.
You're right. Right. They won't know. They'll be like, who's that?
Drue, have you ever had anybody do that? Like quit like that?
No, I mean, we've had people like walk off the job. Like years ago, there was a press operator that just walked off the job, but that person wasn't very stable, had been with me like 3 weeks. You know what I mean? Like nobody that, had been with me for any length of time. Most of the people that work at 320 have been there a long time. Usually if they leave, they're let go. People don't very often leave. I recently had my longest employee, 10 years. He left, but, for very good reasons. Like his wife was starting a business and he was going to help her run that business. And I'm extremely excited for him and his family. And, I will help any way I can. And, I've let them know I'll be here for business advice and that kind of stuff. But he, he let me know, he gave me 2 weeks. He let me know. I knew that was something that was eventually, the plan, because he'd worked with me for 10 years, so we try to, be as caring as we can in terms of the employer side of things and just treat people well. And, I'm happy to say I haven't had the abrupt, screw you.
Well, I'm happy for you.
Job. Yeah. Well, I'm sure it'll happen, but
yeah, it was like even last night, like we were at a bonfire with Brian and Chris, who are like my best friends that also work here. And Chris has always been into making movies. And like he went to Syracuse and got like a, film and television degree and like all this other stuff. He's always made videos, and he made a short film recently that he sent out to all these festivals, and like he actually won like a bunch of awards for it. And like there's one in California that's showing it at like a film festival for like best Western short or whatever. And he's like, oh, I don't know if I should go. I'm like, dude, you have to fucking go. Like it's like a once in a lifetime opportunity that are like showing your movie at this festival. Like you have to I was like, I'm buying your plane ticket and your hotel. Like no question you're going to this thing. And then last night around the fire, we were talking about it and he's like, well, or someone made an off comment about like, oh, what if like it gets picked up and he, wants to make more movies and all sorts of stuff. I was like, dude, you're my best fucking friend. Like if you want to go make movies and that's your passion now to be a filmmaker and whatever, I'm not going to fucking keep you here. Like, doing shipping, receiving, and like, it's not going to happen. I was like, I can find somebody. It's going to suck for sure. Like you're my number 2 here. Like if I leave, you're in charge, but like, that's your dream. Like it's just your life. Like work's one thing, but like to finally fall into like your passion and like have it work out is a whole nother thing. So it's the same thing. It's just like, I will help you in any way to do that. Like, no question.
As employers, I think we never really want to like, have our thumb on anybody. I mean, you want people to live their best life. I don't know, whatever. Like, and if working for our companies is something that is enabling them to do that, that's awesome. But if there's like more for them out there, like, I don't think a good boss is going to be one to keep their thumb on them. So it's just not, it's good and juju all the way around.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean, I'm all for that. I'm all for like pay it forward. And, I feel like when you do good comes back, but I don't know. It's just with certain things, it's kind of like, I don't understand like how this happened last week, but whatever, water under the bridge. We made it. Like I said, I had a meeting Monday morning and, kind of sat everyone down, told them what happened. And then everyone was like good spirits all week. Everyone was like, yeah, let's do this, and we made it through. And like me and Brian were on press and we got everything done that had to get out. And, I'm going to do it again this week and probably the next week until I can get somebody trained up to, take somebody's place. But we'll make it through.
Have you guys upped your minimums at all?
Yeah, we did that a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, we did too. What did you guys up to? We went up to 72 like 3 weeks ago.
Oh, damn. Really? 72? That's ballsy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm embarrassed to say my minimum now.
Well, I was at 12. I was at 12. I mean, we have it to where it's like different color counts. Like I won't do like a 12 color print on 12 shirts, but like, our minimum was 12 and it was like under 6 colors or whatever. And then we had this meeting about like, we should up our minimum and we upped it to 24. And I was like, man, we're going to piss some people off. You're like, oh, I'm at fucking 72. Well,
so you went from what to 72?
48.
Okay. Well, that's already pretty high. Basically 50 shirts. Yeah. So you went.
We just with the same, like what Dylan was talking about, where, it's so busy and, we're getting 6-7 weeks out, probably more than that. If if it's like, you look at an unrealistic schedule and like you're hopeful, it's like, we're probably like this far out, but really it's like,
it's exactly,
if anything goes wrong, it's like, you're really this far out. So then it's like a matter of just like, my scheduling manager is like constantly like the meetings are now like, okay, what's the priorities? Like who's got an event? Like who are the people? Because we're just cranking. I mean, we don't do, we haven't done contract work in 10 years. We don't do any contract. We upped our minimums. We don't do any. So there's a lot of business that we don't actually take. We don't do any little leagues. We don't do recs. We don't do school sports. We don't do anything with schools unless it's like the administration coming and saying, hey, we need 1,000 shirts. And I'm not saying, look, I mean, not all my orders are 1,000 shirts and we upped our minimum 72. But what we found is that the smaller orders come attached to extremely needy customers that if there's going to be a problem, it's 90% going to be one of them that there's some kind of an issue. If someone's coming in small and they've got $500 to spend, that's a very big deal. And we take that seriously to them because to them, there's a lot of money. But they are the ones that are going to sit there and measure, they don't understand that an actual t-shirt's not made exactly like everyone's not exactly the same. They're the ones that are going to get the rulers out, and they're the ones that are going to do that kind of stuff. And, the ones that will call up with a $20,000 PO are just like, that order is placed in one email. It's done.
Right.
Whereas if you got 24 or 48 shirts, you got 24 back and forth emails, 7 mock-up revisions. And at the end of it all, like, there's still going to be some, like, we're too busy for that. And we just don't, we spin our wheels because there's only so many resources. We only have, we have so many presses and so many people. And even in my account managers, we have 4 account managers that manage all the orders that come in, and they are busy. They're super busy. And that's with minimums the way they are. And I mean, we refer away constantly because we know it'll bury us. It'll just bury us. And we have clients that, it's like the 80-20, 20% of your clients make up 80% of your revenue. For us, it's probably more than that. It's probably like 90-10. So it's like, there are other smaller shops that love that kind of work, and I'm happy to refer them all away. And
that's what I was going to ask you, is kind of like, is that what you're doing? Is you're just saying, if somebody needs something less, you're just like, hey, I got a buddy that can handle this. And you're just sending. Yeah,
for sure. I think a big part of providing good customer service is not just like, is whether or not they use you or not. So, I mean, even if they email you and there's some like, hey, I have a birthday party tomorrow and I need to pick one t-shirt with this guy's face on it. Like, instead of just laughing at them and being like, yeah, no, we try to be like, okay, well, we can't do that. You're going to need something called DTG. This is 3 local shops that have that capability. Give them a call. Can't promise the outcome, but and every single time they're like, wow, thank you so much.
Right.
Like it takes a couple extra seconds, but we do have those people kind of ready to go, and we refer them away. We want people, when they do reach out, to have a good experience and get what they need, whether or not they get it from us or not, they're able to get what they need.
Yeah. Why is it that anytime anybody needs a shirt for a birthday party or something, it's always that dude's face?
Yeah. It's funny. We did, for a really good client of ours. So hopefully no one calls us for this, but we did like 40 Speedos with like this dude's face on the crotch,
right,
for right, as like a bachelor type of a thing, but yeah, just a funny that dude's face story.
Right, exactly. So,
and I was going to ask, so you're 48 now, you're 72, and you didn't see a notice, like a drop off in business, and just like you said, didn't you say you were 6 weeks out right now?
Yeah. So the turn time thing is kind of weird right now. What I'm working on is a way to tier it. So I'm trying to come up with a way, which I've already come up with it. It's just the best way to roll it out, really. What I want to do, we want to steer it for times right now when it's so busy. What I want to do is steer people in the way that's going to get them what they need faster. We work with a ton of like retail style, and almost anybody that's getting shirts from us is putting them on a shelf somewhere and selling them. So they need them on the shelf. So a 6 or 7 week turn time, that doesn't work for them. They've got summer season that they need to hit. These are people that are planning out fall lines and in spring lines already. Like, they need this stuff when they need it. And so what we're trying to do is come up with brackets where it's like, all right, if it's a 1 color front and back, you're in the 1 to 2 week turn time. If it's this many colors, this many locations, you're in the this much, and so on and so forth. And we have some clients that are like, all right, I want sewn on felt letters, a 4 color back print. We're going to do a custom relabel and a sewn on hem tag. And that's got to go through 4 different departments. Like, that's going to take a long time. So we're trying to bracket it out so that as we're quoting customers, we can also quote them a turn time that makes sense. It doesn't make any sense that someone's ordering, if they want 200 shirts with a 1 color front, like, there's no reason that should take 6 weeks, So we're trying to kind of quote out our turn times with the jobs that way so that they're just a little bit easier. And also what we've seen happen is people are like, you know what? Yeah, we don't need the custom sewn on hem tag. And you know what? Screw the relabel. Let's just do a one color front and back. We have this design that's sick over here. It's been sitting for a while. We haven't done anything with it. Now's the perfect time.
So how do people know?
So our schedule just got easier.
Right.
How does your team know, how to quote times? So is it for every location, it's a week, or every department, I should say, it's a week, like right now it's a week for us anyway, just to take the order, get the prepayment, order the shirts, check the shirts in. That's like a week.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Nothing's a week. Nothing's a week.
Right. That just starts at a week. And then I guess your team could say, okay, well, we got 1 week there. And then if you want a front, there's a week. If you want a sewn in hem, there's a week. If you want a retag, I mean, do you have a plan? Like, how are you going to do that?
Yeah. So basically I got it all bracketed out. So it's like this many colors in this many locations. And then once it starts going multiple departments, that's when it really ends up getting pushed out there. And we're going 6, 7, 8 weeks, even depending on what it is. Yeah. I mean,
so now if somebody comes in with that 200 piece one color, are you just putting them ahead of a bunch of people then? Or is it press allocated? Like this press is just going to crank out one colors all day long, and that's the turnaround for that press? Or is it like your general turnaround? Because like in my shop, I allocate jobs per press. I'm like, okay, this is 6 colors or more, it's going on this press. If it's 3 colors or less, it's going on this press.
So we have 3 automatic presses and 2 manual presses. We run 2 Rock P10s and 1 Rock P18, and then we have 2 6 color manuals, and which don't get used that often. I'll be honest. Like usually, especially where we're upping the minimums, as much as we are, it's like we don't use them they're more like sample presses, something we're doing off to the side, or something we just don't want to jam up the big presses with. But depending on the percentage of schedule, that is like 1 or 2 or whatever, how many colors, we'll kind of allocate it and be like, all right, look, I'm going to put all the 1 colors on this press. I'm going to put all these ones on this press with this operator, and we allocate that way. And then if like 90% of the ones that are coming in are the 1 and 2 colors because people are being influenced by the turn times, then we'll allocate more presses to them. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And this kind of branches off of that a little bit, because I need to rethink this a little bit in our shop. Is I was doing the same thing. Like I said, I was allocating anything that was 6 colors or more to one press, and the other guy on the Sportsman was getting like the 1 to 3 color prints. But I feel like I was also getting like operator burnout with the one who had to do nothing but like 12 color prints all day long, because he was doing all the complicated stuff, or all the, I gotta fucking make like 12 inks, or I gotta tri-lock 12 screens and stuff. And he's like, what I would give for a 1 color print today. And it was just kind of like, you know what I mean? Like it was that like, like when I was scheduling every so often, I'd like sprinkle in like a 1 color or a vintage print. I'd be like, 500 piece, black ink on heather gray or whatever. And it was just like, just so that it was like a 1 screen setup to just, be something different that wasn't complicated.
Yeah. I've had, I have people that like the complexity of some of the designs. They like it. But you can definitely get burned out by too many of them. Every once in a while, even if you like that type of print,
that's what I mean.
All right, just give me something easy, for crying out loud. Like,
that's what I'm saying. I feel like we get a ton of like 12 color simulated process prints, and it's like, it's never, I wouldn't say never. It's a lot of times there's tweaking involved, like you have to mix a different ink, or you put ink in like 3 screens, and then we look at it when it's done and we're like, well, let's actually lighten this Pantone and do this and do this. And he's looking at you like, I will kill you if you make me take the ink out of the screen and change it. And it's just like every job, every day doing that kind of gets old. So like we told the story earlier of like the fuck you leave or whatever, but I also look at that too, of like, I evaluate myself to be like, well, what was I doing in my company wrong to kind of give him the impression that he was just like, fuck this place, I'm done. You know what I mean? So, I don't know if there's a ton of stuff, but there's definitely things where I'm like that's one of them where I'm like, should I put all the burden of the high quality, high color count stuff on that press, or should I mix things up more? Or, I don't know. There's just things I'm thinking about right now of like, maybe I should even the playing field all across.
I don't know if that makes sense though. Honestly, I mean, we do the same thing to an extent. So we have an 8 color, a 10 color, and a 12 color. And, and so we allocate to those presses appropriately, because obviously you don't want to run a 6 color or an 8 color on the 8 color press. But at the same time, we run through jobs so fast that, and we don't have enough jobs ready to always put 6 colors and up on the 12 colors, nor do we always have high count color jobs. It may be that the next 10 jobs in a row are all 1 and 2 colors. And so that's what'll feed into the press. I mean, sometimes you're waiting on these, obviously we just talked about it a minute ago. So we're waiting on shirts, or we're waiting on art approvals or whatever. And so it's more about, honestly, I think that when we run into a large, like a 1,000 piece or something, the production manager loves it because that buys him time, to get screens ready for, it takes a long time to make 8 screens, get them all ready and all the stuff. And so, we'll throw a 1 color 1,000 piece on our 12 color just to buy time to wait, to make 6 or 7 screens or something. And so it's a tough job. Like Kyle has a really tough job. So I said earlier, I don't know, several episodes ago, somebody asked like what his role or what his title would be. And I don't really even know, because he's a screen tech. He is a production manager. He mixes ink sometimes. He runs a press. Like he can run an auto also. Right. So it just depends on what that day needs. Kyle has a key and turns off the alarm in the morning. He gets here. I try and beat him almost every day, but he beats me here most of the time. But, it's like, I guess my point is that even if you wanted to, even if a printer said, I want to do only complex work, I think that's a challenge. And unless you are, maybe in Drue's case, because he's so many weeks out, he can pick and choose easier than a shop like ours, with the jobs anyway, especially if you have higher minimums. Maybe that also means different color counts too. I don't know, but yeah, dude, like it's really tough. And I hear you too, because you're thinking to yourself, okay, whenever something like that happens, you think about, well, why did that person quit? What was it exactly? And that's the bummer about not having like an exit interview or just some time to talk, is that you don't get to learn from it. Like maybe it's nothing you did, maybe it's all him. And so, but wouldn't it be nice if you did do something, you could learn from it? It doesn't mean you're going to change that. Maybe you don't, but it gives you an opportunity to learn from it and change. And you get to say, okay, well, maybe I shouldn't have given him all complex work. Maybe it was as simple as that. I don't know, but you don't get that opportunity. That's a bummer. Yeah.
The one thing that I saw from it really didn't have anything to do with him, but it was just kind of like an opportunity to get him out and get a new person in, was what we've been talking about quite a bit on the episodes, is like the SOP stuff. Like, this is a good opportunity to be like, okay, if we're going to have a new press operator, let's make sure that like all of our shit is dialed of like, okay, if we're doing this kind of print, we're using a 60, 90, 60, and we're doing a 15-degree angle, and we're doing, this, and like everything to where it's just like no questions asked for the most part. Like, yeah, you have like creative freedom when it comes to tweaking and whatever, but like, okay, now we're using thin thread through 230s and the pressure needs to be, 38 or 40 or whatever. And it's like, don't crank it up to 60 like an asshole. Like all these other things, like, it's like, I want to make sure those are known now and jotted down. And because I feel like with the printer we did have that left, it was kind of like, he learned how he wanted to do it and he did things differently than, I might come out and be like, oh, I learned this thing and I want to try this. And this is this new squeegee or this new thing. And he'd be like, okay. And then just put it on press. And then I would say, oh, well, the pressure on this is supposed to be this. And he'd be like, okay. And then it's just like, I don't know if it actually ever happened. The prints look good, but it was still like, I feel like there's things we can tweak and do differently. And now that I have the opportunity to be like, all right, well, let's like fully deep dive into this and then make our standard operating procedures, then it should be easier going forward. So it's just little things like that. Like, Drue, do you guys have a lot of standard operating procedures and stuff like that for everybody to where kind of your team's all on the same page with how they print, or is each operator slightly different?
Each operator is slightly different, but they're all trained. They're all trained the same way. They all print. We do things a little bit different, and we have a lot of printers that came from other shops. And our thing is, it's like we want to learn the best way to do it. And so if you had a way that you think is better, let's talk about it and check it out. And if it's better, then we'll change over. But if not, like, we have our way. In terms of writing legit SOPs per department, per role, that is something that I found, at least lately, totally impossible, because we grow so much every year. It seems like it's changing. Everything changes. Like, what worked last year doesn't work this year. What works this year is not going to work next year. And so we kind of roll off onto some kind of plateau, where things stay the same or relatively the same for a period of time. It's really hard to do that.
I just think I would like to have like a rolling, like, even if it was an Excel sheet of like, okay, this is our new standard. You know what I mean? And then like
a live Google Doc, maybe.
Right. Like if somebody's like, okay, well, this is what we've been doing and this is great, but like a new, like Frank comes out with fucking new like platinum mesh or some shit. And it's like, oh, this is now we need our pressures to be this for a standard underbase. And this is our pressure and angle and everything else. Like, I would like to have that. And then anytime something new comes along, we're adjusting that to where there's no question asked. It's kind of like, okay, this is what we're doing for this style print, or, this many passes or this many, whatever, when it comes to a CMYK print or.
Yeah. I think super specific to screen printing, like on a press, like procedures, that we probably could have an SOP, because that is something that has been the same.
That's what I'm trying to do, especially with like screen printing and like a heat press department or finishing department of like, fold it this way or stack it this way first. And we found this is the fastest way to get from A to B. You know what I mean? Or like I said, with heat pressing, there's so many variables when it comes to like pressures and, everything else. It's kind of like, I just want to have like a fucking laminated card on the wall. That's just like, if you are doing this, do this. And it's kind of like,
heat pressing totally sucks. It's the worst thing in the world. Like, you can't, it takes so long. And you also, it's like, I don't know about you guys. I don't have a dedicated guy that's like the heat press guy. It's like, who has 30 minutes that they can go do this thing over here? It's so you're not always getting the same person who's been trained the same way. So my solution to that is I bought, and God knows when it's ever going to come, is a crap. It's one of the air ones, and it's automatic, and it sends away, and like you can pre-program it. Yeah.
We have one like, where you can go in the catalog and just like pick the recipe, and it's like, okay, you're doing leather patches, and you click it and it like automatically sets everything you need to know.
That's what we're doing.
Well, that's pretty much what I'm saying is like you said, if you're having random people in the shop come over to that press, if I've got a fucking poster on the wall that says, if you're doing this, this is the procedure, there should be no question asked. It should be,
or use recipe, 10.
Right. It's like, I want to have that for every department. And it's like with the Sprint 3000, it's like, there's no question in there either, because you go to recipes and you're like, okay, I'm doing discharge, or I'm doing, poly or whatever. It's like, you click a button and the dryer sets itself. Like, there's no, I don't know. I want them to know.
Do you have a lot of issues with that?
I don't. No, I don't. I'm just saying that like things come up from time to time as like I'm not going to be that guy. It's like every print that leaves the shop is flawless. It's like, okay, cool. Yeah, you're a fucking liar. Like, sometimes shit happens. Like, if you use, I'm just saying, sometimes shit happens. Like, say, perfect example, if you didn't lay a great underbase, like it was a decent white, but it's kind of heathery looking, and you put a thin yellow on it, it's like that print straight up coming out of the dryer is going to look like a thin yellow. Like, it's not a bright, bold yellow. Like, that shit happens sometimes. Like, I'll walk out in the shop and I'll see a print and I'm like, this should have been done a different way to achieve a better result, even though that same way you printed that worked for 1,000 other inks, but because you're specifically using this color that isn't as opaque, you should have done it a different way. And it's kind of like things like that where I say something and they're just like, oh, I didn't know any different. And it's like, I don't want to hear that you didn't know any different if we have these things in place to say, if you're doing this, this is what you should do. So and on my end as a business owner, I look at it as like, okay, well, we've learned, we made a mistake. Let's document that mistake and say, this is how it was fixed. So hopefully it doesn't happen again. And it's kind of like, that's where I'm going with this. I'm not trying to be like a guy that's just like, if you don't follow these rules, but it's like,
yeah,
it's nice when it's documented. So if they have a question, it's there in front of their face of like, they're not guessing, you know what I mean? Because guessing here is you could guess and print a whole job. And then I walk out and I see it, or someone else brings it to my attention at quality control. And they're like, well, these don't look right. And I look at it, I'm like, cool. Well, here's 300 hoodies I have to go reorder now and then fit back on our already packed schedule. And like, this is a perfect example. We did a job a week ago for a buddy of mine, which it always sucks when you fuck up a job for a buddy. And he didn't know any better. He just came in and I had given him an Upstate shirt that was our Harley ripoff shirt. And we did it in discharge. And it was also like a vintage looking discharge print. And he loved that shirt. And he came in and talked to Sarah, who didn't know what shirt he was talking about. He just came in and said, I want it to be a vintage style print. You know, whatever. He just listed. So when she heard vintage, she was like, okay, he wants like a thinned out, distressed, like plastisol print. Like he wants it to just like an old plastisol print. So we printed all the shirts that way, everything. And he got them and he's like, I can feel the print on all these. Like, this isn't what I wanted. And he like listed to me like what he was really looking for. And I was like, oh, he wanted a discharge print. He didn't know any better. Like even on our mock-up form, we put everything he should have, everything, and like it looked right, but it just wasn't what he was looking for. So it was like, I just told him, I was like, all right, well, we're just going to redo the whole thing. And it was like, yeah, he shouldn't have just said vintage print, but you know, like if there would have been things in place, we probably wouldn't have had that problem. And it was like, you know, a $1,200 fix. And now I'm just eating it. So it's like little things like that I kind of want to avoid.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't think there's any way to fully ever avoid that stuff. Because just like you said, people don't, they walk in the door, they call you or they email you. They just know they need t-shirts.
Right.
So they're using words that, I mean, unless you can get your team to ask like a ton of super specific questions,
right.
It's just, it will unfortunately happen sometimes, even if you do everything right. Because like you didn't do anything wrong by printing it that way. I mean, you're going to fix it because he's your buddy, but you also like, you know, that's not a job you should have to redo. You know what I'm saying?
I just feel like if it was in that department, if I had, you know, in SOP for, you know, if they want this style print, these are the things you should probably ask, or these are the things, you know, that go along with that kind of print. You know, we could just say vintage and then we think one thing and the customer thinks another thing.
So you're saying you could have an SOP and they mention the word vintage and you say, okay, customer, that we have two options for vintage. We have a single hit plastisol, vintage plastisol look. That's option. Yeah. Which is option one. And option two, we have a discharge white.
Or water-based or whatever. You know what I mean?
Water-based. Like, and here are the advantages and disadvantages of both.
Right.
Which one did you want? And if you're not sure, you can either come in and see, you know, like here in our shop and feel it, touchy-feely, or we can ship you one if it's a large order and you have
extra
time.
For that.
Yeah, but I mean, well, you're paying extra now though. Like, wouldn't you rather ship somebody for $20 or whatever?
Yeah.
And it didn't go wrong. You know, I mean, that's a $20 insurance policy. So like sometimes when a customer is being really picky at the counter or on an email or on the phone, we do a timeout and we make it a TLC, we call it, put a piece of tape on the packet and call it TLC and say, wait a second, we try to do this anyway, because of course we have things slip through too. But we try to do this where we say, wait a second, they either need to like see a sample, or we need to look at this further. Then we need to go into this further because it may, you know, like this seems doomed. Something's going to go wrong here.
Red flag.
Yeah.
Well, it was like we kind of made a small standard operating procedure with people that have like race teams You know what I mean? Or some kind of thing like that, because we had like 2 jobs within the same month where a customer just called and said, like, it was race season or whatever. And they were like, we want this print and whatever. And they were like, we want purple. And I was like, okay, cool. Well, we looked at the design like normal and we Pantoned it to the screen and we sent them a mock-up approval and everything. And they were like, yep, looks good, everything. Then you print it and they call and they're like, the purple doesn't match the purple on my car. I'm like, how the fuck was I supposed to know what purple was on your car? So again, it was the same thing. You go back and forth with the customer and then you do the Andy where you fucking apologize and you send them cookies and you reprint their order anyway. And, you know, you're like, okay, next time, let's not do it this way. And then we had another one. It was the same thing. It was like the green didn't match or something. I was like, from now on, anytime someone calls to place an order that's very specific to like their brand, but it's not like a branding company that has a packet. It's like, tell them we need like a swatch, or they have to come in and pick out the color specifically or something. Like if they want it to match their vehicle or something that we can't get an actual Pantone from, we need something, or they need to like triple agree on what we picked before we print the order. So it's like, it's stuff like that where I just feel like there's every department of the shop has stuff like that.
I think Drue was right. I think what you said earlier was that having an SOP for every spot in your company is extremely hard and maybe close to impossible. But I think you have to start. I think you need to start in every department and have a basic SOP anyway. And then kind of what we're, I think, talking about here is build on it. And
yeah,
you over time, you build on it. Over time, it evolves. And, you know, like you said, you know, what we did a year ago, maybe we don't do now. Like if we had an SOP for an eye image, well, that's useless at this point. So we don't have an eye image anymore. And so, you know, it's going to change, and that's for sure. But I think you have to start somewhere, because if you don't, my whole reason of having an SOP for everywhere, not just in production, but also, you know, in, well, customer service, for example, or invoicing or just everything, right? My reason is that I want to be able to work less in the business and more on the business, right? Isn't that where we're taught? And so I find myself in the business constantly, always. And that's okay. I enjoy it, but I also want to leave for a month and hike a trail or go on a sailboat with you, Drue, because it sounds like that's what you guys do. I don't know if you go for a month, but you know, we could go. We can make it work, right?
Yeah.
And that's what I want to do, man. And I don't want to. I love screen printing. I love owning a shop. I love working here, but I need to get away sometimes, and for longer than a long weekend, or longer than a week or two. And so, if we don't have things in place, I'm never going to get there. Never.
Well, that's the truth of it is that you're the owner and you're the one that's not going anywhere. But everybody in every department like gets really skilled and they learn from their mistakes or whatever, but it's never documented, and they just leave or go to another department or whatever. And the next guy behind them has to make all the same mistakes all over again to find out the best way to do it, because nothing was ever documented. But you're the only one in that shop that's documented it in your brain of like, oh yeah, we learned this and this is what we do now. And then you have to walk out and tell somebody and they're like, I didn't know. So that's what I'm saying is like, if that person in that department comes up with something better in that list that was there before, make it better. So that way, when the next guy comes in, he looks at the list and is like, oh, that's how we do it. And then he starts from that point and then gets to here. And then the next guy starts from that point and gets to here. And it's like, that's all I'm saying is like, it doesn't have to be like etched in stone. It just needs to be documented of like, we learned from this and now we're here.
Yeah, we document a lot of that stuff within the work orders themselves. So we use Printavo, and we will have very detailed from the account managers. They'll load in very detailed, as I'm sure your shops are the same, information, Pantone colors, everything. When it's done, and the mock-up is uploaded as well, the approved version. And then when it's done, a photo of the shirt's taken, and that's uploaded as well. And then if there are any changes or tweaks that had to happen, any notes, anything useful for next time in case of a reorder, that's all documented. Whether or not, the Pantone with an underbase looked different without the underbase. And you know what I mean? If there were any tweaks that had to change based on whatever, like we've had it sometimes where if you're printing, let's say a Pantone red on a white shirt, Pantone red on a black shirt, and the underbase changes it a little bit, you make those notes like, all right, on the white version, use this color, on the other one, use this color. Other than that.
Or if you did like 2 passes of a color.
Exactly. Yeah. And other than that, even print order is usually in there. So it'll be like, all right, we printed, if it's a 10 color print, they'll put the print order in. You know,
we do that too. We put like
flashes,
this color
flash,
this color flash.
Exactly. Yeah. So we do that. And then additionally to that, just for me anyway, I get a great production manager, and I also have another guy who's been around. I think he's going on 9 years now, and he's worked in almost every single. He's been the production manager. He's been the art director. Right now, I don't know what he's in. He's in customer service, but he's like an asset to them because he can help them with mock-ups. They go to him and they say, hey, this customer wants this. What are they talking about? He can be like, oh, all right. That means that we're going to need this process or this process. And so
I love how you and Andy have this like lone wolf that you don't know what they do. They just go around your shop and get all the shit done.
Yeah. But I mean, combined, like to Andy's point, like, I want to go away for a month. Like me too. Like, and that's how I do it. You know, I'm not the first one at the shop in the morning. I probably don't go until 10 a.m. every day. I wake up and I have coffee with my wife and I check my emails and I do that kind of stuff. And then I go to the bank and then I go to the shop because I have a real good team right now that's in there and they know what they're doing and they're taking care of things. And that's what I pay them to do. And they do a great job. So, SOPs to an extent. I mean, we have books, like all the customer service teams, they have books with information on how and why to quote different things. And then in terms of production, I don't know about you guys. Sometimes I feel like when I do have specific instructions, whether you're calling it a legit SOP or just something else, it almost slows things down. Most of what we do is pretty much the same. There's not a lot of times that we have to really like seriously change the process. Obviously, if we're going from a plastic solid to a water base or discharge or something like that, it's different. But otherwise, it's very much the same process that we use, and everyone's trained the same way. And then there's also resources around them. So if there are questions, they can ask. And I feel like that keeps things going. I mean, this is not to me like a debate at all on whether we should or shouldn't have SOPs. I think definitely as all of our companies grow, they're going to be an absolute must. Just even if it gets to the positions, like, for example, like shipping, like creating a position SOP for like shipping, like at a certain point in the growth of a company, shipping maybe is half a day's job. And then as it gets bigger, it's a full day's job. And then maybe it's a 2-person job, or, you know what I mean? And that's why it's always changing. And then every time you add more manpower to that position, now you have to change up the duties. So the SOPs change. And now you got someone who just literally spends all day writing SOPs for stuff that's constantly changing. So, I mean, like to an extent, you know what I'm saying? I think there's give and take here. I think having a way of doing things is completely necessary for running a consistent quality print shop. There's no question.
Yeah. I think I might be saying it a different way. I just think that like maybe we need to have our upstate print Bible or something of like, this is the way we learned how to do this a specific way. And it works really, really well compared to all the other ways that we fucking crashed and burned. So I don't know. I think I just want to start writing shit down. But I feel like when we started this podcast today with you, we just went in hard and haven't heard anything about 320. We're just like, hey, let's talk about feelings and let's talk about like complicated shit that nobody wants to think about on a daily. So
yeah, I can give you a breakdown and give you the whole
Drue,
like,
tell us what's going on. Tell us how you got started. Tell us how life is for you.
Sure. Yeah. So Started in 2008. So we're in 13 or 14 years, coming on 14 maybe. Started in the basement. I started on a Riley Hopkins joystick with a flash share. Was in my basement for a couple of years, and I got my first spot. We were in that spot for 3 years.
So hold on,
and
hold on one sec.
Yeah.
So what made you buy a Riley Hopkins press and put it in your basement? How did you discover screen printing?
Gotcha. Yeah. So I've always been artistic, and I've always messed with t-shirts. Even as like a 11-year-old kid, I would draw like the neighbor's favorite cartoon characters on a white t-shirt with fabric markers and sell them. And, I bought a skateboard with it or something like that. And then, I went on with life and didn't really do anything, just that. And then when I joined the military, I was in the military for 4 years. I got out of the military, moved back to Maine. We were in Fort Bragg, North Carolina for 4 years. And then moved back, and I knew I wanted to do something on the side. I was working a 9-to-5 office style job, and, it was a great job, but it wasn't, there's more, you know what I mean? You feel like there's more. So it was like, I wanted to do something else. And was kind of exploring what that should be. I bought a Nissan Xterra and joined a Xterra club on the internet. And I was doing like designing logos at the time. So I designed a logo and everyone's like, oh, we need to make some shirts. And so because I designed it, it fell on me. I got some made locally. They came out horrible. And I asked the person who I had known, like, hey, is this like supposed to be like this, or is all that, it was like way out of registration. The white was like way out and whatever, I'm just asking the question. I'm being nice to her. She's like, yeah, I just sub it out to this guy in his basement and he doesn't do a good job, but there's no one else around. And I was like, what? So in my head, I had envisioned like a t-shirt printing thing, like as a giant, I'm picturing like a giant factory with like something that just like you put the t-shirts in and they go chugging through like a Dr. Seuss thing and they pop out on the other end done. And I'm thinking that's, millions of dollars. And, it's just something that never entered my head. But when she said that some guy in his basement, in my brain was like, what?
Right.
So I immediately started researching screen printing presses, because up to that point, I never even thought about thinking about what one even looked like. So when I saw them, I was like, oh my God, that's it? Like, that's the thing that makes the things? Like, you kidding me? So I had to, that was it. I went all in. For me at the time, I was married, still am, 2 kids, mortgage, car payments, that kind of stuff. So it wasn't like there was risk involved for me. It cost every penny I had and then some that I didn't to get the equipment in and do it. It started in the basement. And I'm just a very particular person. And so my shirts came out really good. And that's how the ball gets rolling. And it just is still rolling to this day. So, but that's why I started doing it. And the first time I did it, I remember it was coating screens. My wife was super nervous because she's like, we just like spent everything that we had. And I came up over the stairs one night and she was like, how's it like that nervous? Like, how's it going? And I'm like, I think I was made for this. Like everything felt very natural. Awesome. Like I coded screens like I'd done it before. Like I didn't screw, like I hear the horror stories. Like my first job I ever did, and I'm not a phenom, believe me, I screwed up tons of stuff. But like the first job I did, I took before I even got my equipment, hadn't even seen it or tried it. And it was a 5-color front, 5-color back on black t-shirts.
That's awful.
Yes. I didn't know how awful, but it was 24 shirts and I ordered 50 of them. I basically doubled the order because I knew this isn't going to go well. And, I was able to pull 24 acceptable ones out of the pile, send them off. That was the first order I ever did. And then honestly, it just got easier after that. So That's
that's definitely diving in the deep end. You know, a 5-color front, 5-color back. That's not like, oh, let me get some speedball ink and I, wash shit out my bathtub and did black on white tees. You were like, no, let's do 5 front, 5
No,
back.
and it wasn't even balls, man. It was just complete naivety. I had no idea what I was getting into. It's just what it was for a band, and that's what that particular band wanted. And so I can do that. I think there's an element of needing to be able to deal with risk and needing to be able to
for sure.
Jump off cliffs like that.
And have the confidence in yourself that you're going to figure it out. Like you said, you're a particular person and you're like, okay, I'll figure this out some way. I've got a 6-color press. I'll make it work somehow. Even if it took more than 50 shirts. Yeah.
Then this one had a deadline too, which was even dumber of me, but I pulled it off. It's definitely like, I looked at a lot of other stuff and I was like, if they can do it, I can do it, and that's how I got it all going in the basement. And then I basically got to the point where I was working, like I'd get home from my day job and I'd work all night long. And then I'd go to work and I work all day long. I go all night. It just didn't stop. And then finally I had to give one up, and I wasn't giving up my baby that I'd been building.
Right.
So I left my job and went in full time. And so we were full time out of my house for maybe another year, I would say. And then went to our first, I think it was like a 2,400 square foot dump of a space, but I was able to get my first automatic, which was a tough, it was the big version. It wasn't the Javelin. It was the big Olympian. Oh my word, man. What a pile of crap. That was horrendous. But I learned a lot on that press. And then I got my first good automatic press, which was an M&R Diamondback 8-color. And then we moved to 5,000 square feet a couple of years later. And now we're in 17,000 square feet. And we've got, I think, about 25 employees, 3 autos. I mentioned the 2 P10s and a P18. We've got 10 heads of Barrett embroidery. We have a sewing department with a couple Jukis, a couple Yamadas, and a serger. And trying to think of what else we got over there. We got a Dowfit CTS and a couple Hopkins manuals, and that's about it.
That's awesome.
That's the fast tracked version.
Do you think you learned anything as far as like the work ethic thing or anything like that from doing the military stuff? Like, do you think that changed you in any way, or was like you just went to the military and then were out and then just continued life?
I think it had to have changed me. I mean, I think it's hard to pinpoint one single thing, but I joined in 2000 and 2001, September 11th. We immediately. So what I did was munitions. I was in the Air Force and I did bombs and missiles and that kind of stuff. So we were attached to the 74th Fighter Squadron, which were the A-10s, which is close air support for the 81st, the 101st Airborne Division, and I think the 82nd as well. So anyway, sort of where they went, our planes went, because they were close air support for them. And so where the planes went, we went. So we went over a couple times, and I think, you learn a little bit about pressure in those scenarios. And so I think the pressure and the stress maybe that you can experience in those scenarios definitely help with the stress of owning a business or a pissed off customer or dealing with an employee issue or something like that. You kind of feel a little bit more confident, like I've done worse. I can do this, you know?
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying.
I've dealt with worse, not done worse.
You dealt with stuff like that, like real life, like, oh shit, stress. And then you come to a screen printing shop and a t-shirt job gets messed up. You're like, what the, like, I'm not going to get stressed out over this. Or, you know, the initial, you know, it's just t-shirts saying of whatever. It's not the same as like dealing with fucking bombs. So yeah, that's pretty crazy.
Well, thanks for your service, man. I always wish that I would have done that. And I talk about, like, wouldn't it be cool if our country, if everybody did, and maybe it's not 4 years, maybe it's 1 year or 2 years or something, but some level of service like that. So you graduate high school and you do a year or 2 years. It's, you know, somewhere it's at a certain level because you gain so much from it. I mean, I think I would have approached college different. Like I went straight to college and I didn't do that well initially. It took me like 6 years to graduate college. And so, I mean, I took a little time off in there, but I think that if I would have went straight to some sort of service like that and then chosen to do, maybe, you know, they would have paid for it to some degree. That would have been for me anyway, that would have been a much better path. So you have 17,000 feet and about the same amount of employees because we can't grow. We're crammed in here at this point. We have 12,000 and 3 autos, and almost the same amount of embroidery and everything like that. And so so we have enough space for the autos and all of that equipment. What we don't have space for is storage, just box storage and stuff like that. We're tripping over ourselves. They're stacked too deep and too high. And man, I think that we could use, Dylan, if you had 5,000 square foot of storage, can you imagine? Like extra storage right now?
That's why I'm trying to buy fucking tractor trailer bodies right now.
Yeah.
So you, how are your ceilings, Andy?
We have, I think they start at 16 and pitch to the back at about 14, roughly, let's say, something like that.
Okay.
They're not super
tall.
So
you probably have some type of racking in there that you can use.
Yeah, but it doesn't, we could go way higher than we do.
Oh,
like the racking we have is just the Home Depot version of racks. It's not the pro racks.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Like the green and orange.
Green and orange, right? Yeah.
I mean, at 16 or even 14, I mean, that's two levels of pallets you could do. We're lucky we've like 22 or 24 foot ceilings and, you know, I've got racks that can go super, super high. We have enough room. We're pre-plumbed for both the airdrops and the gas drops I can add 2 more autos and 1 more gas dryer. And then at that point, because like you mentioned, it's all the storage and the incoming and shipping, receiving and all that other stuff. At that point, we're maxed. We can't fit anything more. So I'm actually in the process right now of changing. Basically, everything that produces is going on one side of my shop, and then all the way over on the other side, which currently now has our embroidery and our sewing department and our sublimation, is getting moved, basically swapping, so that shipping and receiving, just to organize it a lot better and have more dedicated storage areas and that kind of stuff.
Now, are you waiting?
That's it.
Are you waiting till like the end of your season to make a move like that? Because won't you be down for a few weeks or a couple of weeks if you're making that massive of a move?
My embroidery, I need to do that over a weekend. That's the most important piece that I can't have down for regular production days. The printing wouldn't be down necessarily. To answer your question, I am going to wait until probably after Christmas to kind of orchestrate that, because it's just going to be a mess in there for a little while. But I have kind of a hand-picked team of about 4 or 5 people that I think we'll be able to execute it in a couple of days' time. It shouldn't be that crazy. So, I mean, I'm just disassembling like industrial racking, taking everything down, reassembling it on the other side of the building, moving everything over, reorganizing it that way. The thing that'll take me the longest is I have so much equipment like that I'm not using. I've got dryers and presses and tons of stuff That's
that stuff's worth gold right now.
I know. I'm working on getting it all sold. I've had it like every year. I'm like, I've got to sell that stuff this year. And I've just got to get it all out because it's just taking up space. And like you said, it's just money sitting there. So
I'm sure you've heard, no joke, like our used press, like our 09, our 8 color 2009 Sportsman is worth near what I paid for it right now, just because it's so fast. Hey, who we got here?
Okay, I'll take care of it. This is my youngest, and say hi. Say hi. This is Andy.
What's up,
here.
dude?
This is Dylan here. This is that call I was telling you I was having.
So is
This
he printing
is Rune.
shirts
This
yet?
is my, not yet, but he orders everyone around when he comes in. He's the boss. He's got his own business idea, and he is trying to hire all my employees out from under me to go work for him.
Smart.
So
I made my kiddo, I made him business cards when he was about this one's age, and it said his name, and then it said security on it. And he would hand them out. Like he would walk around. If anybody asked him,
that's awesome.
he would hand them out.
I love that. I love that. Cool. We'll say goodnight,
it
buddy.
says, cross my dad, I'll kick your ass on the back.
That's right.
Yeah, he's my youngest. I've got 3. Liam is 19, Ava's 17, and Rune's 7. So
Seriously, Mom was like, he's
Okay.
on the couch, like next to a water thing.
all right, I'll take care of it. Thanks, buddy.
Got an emergency, it sounds like.
Yeah, everything's an emergency when you're 7, right? Yeah. No, good kids. They're all good kids.
It's
Well-
funny. You guys were talking about the shop shift, and it made me think of what was it? 2 weeks ago, I was in Utah, and I went to Design Inc., which is a massive shop. They had something like 14, 18 autos, and the place was flawless. Like it was super clean. They were super, super organized. The dude who owns that place is like, he builds his own shit. He like super, super smart guy. But it was funny. We were walking through the shop, and like one whole half of the shop is like shipping, receiving. And the way it's set up is like, this half is all, the t-shirts are over here. Like everything to do with the shirts is over here. In the middle is all the presses and dryers going one way to the other. And then the other side is all anything to do with squeegees, flood bars, inks, everything that can get dirty or whatever. And he was showing me, he's like, yeah, it's literally a fireable offense if like shirts go past this point to the other side of the shop, because he's like, inks and shirts should never go past each other. And he was just like, he had everything so dialed there. And it was just like, it blew my mind of like, he's like, yeah, like these shirts will never get ink on them. They will never get dirty. Everything over here has a place, and everything over here has a place. And he has a person that specifically just walks around and like takes the inks from like the teardowns of each press. And they wipe like the lids super clean. They wipe the bucket super clean to where there's like no ink fingerprints or ink on anything. And it was just like his ink department was like white buckets, like pristine white buckets. And I was just like, holy fuck. Like it was amazing.
You get to a point, like you had mentioned, this guy's shop is giant. You get to a point where it's like, okay, I got this big. Now, how do I manage it? How do I get more efficient? Because as we all know, payroll is insane. I don't know, like we added, we have benefits now in dental and vision and 401k, which made it even more expensive. And that's fine. That's actually been a goal of mine for a long time. I've wanted to be able to do that.
Exactly.
And I could have done it a lot sooner, but honestly, if I had, it would have been more for me to just say that I offer them. It'd been too expensive for anybody to actually afford. So, our benefits we cover like 75% of it and it's the good package. It's like the deductibles, you know what I'm saying? Like everything is really, it's the good package. Cause if it's a benefit, should be a benefit. But anyway, I'm getting off track here. Basically, like the cost of doing business is, the bigger you get, it gets higher and higher and higher. Your monthly you need to cover, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And then as a business owner, you have to look at it and say, all right, how can I do this smarter so that I can get more done with the same amount of people? or how can I get more done with the same amount of equipment? How can I get more done? And I'll tell you what, like this guy in his, ink can't go buy the shirts. How many times is he having to rebuy shirts or,
Exactly.
that kind of stuff?
Yeah.
How can we do this more efficiently? How do we reduce the amount of reprints we have to do? Every time we do something like that, as a business owner, that is, it's money in your pocket, basically. Yeah. And you kind of get to this point where you almost lament like, crap, I got too big. Like, like the landscaper that made more money with 3 guys and 2 trucks than now he's got 20 trucks and 30 guys. And, he's crazy and stressed and, makes the same almost or something like that. So you kind of get to a
challenge.
Point, yeah, it really is. And so like, I think for us, like that, we're trying to do that. Like I probably should have been doing it years and years ago. I've always trying to get more efficient, but definitely trying to do that. One of the biggest things though that I found in order to manage the production and get more done with less is doing the things like raising my minimums, referring away people that aren't a good fit for us. Kind of knowing our niche and our customer base and focusing on that. Those are all things that help me tremendously get more done with less resources.
Right.
Every year we do something I call a traffic light report. We do it in January every single year. I take my entire front end team, including like not just my account managers, but the art team, purchasing and invoicing, everybody. We all go into the conference room. I have a big screen up there. I pull up the entire last year. So in January, we'll do it for 2021. I pull the whole thing in an Excel spreadsheet and I sort it based on revenue per customer. And then we go down that list and it doesn't matter how much money they spent. They either get a red light, a green light, or a yellow light. And if they get a red light, we're not working with them again. And it's not always about the size of the order. It's about how were they difficult to deal with? Did they treat the rep they were working with respectfully? Did they, the accounts people are in there because did they pay on? Were they a pain to pay their deposits? Did they complain every 2 seconds? That kind of stuff. Right. And we actually start off with at the very bottom. The reason I sort by revenue is because we go to the bottom. We're like, all right, anybody who spent less than this much with us, those are clients that aren't going to meet our requirements. And we try to really give it. So it's not like so for example, you spend $5,000 with us and maybe that's below the cutoff annually. But if it's one order for $5,000, then okay, let's keep that person. But if it's 20 orders for $5,000, like that is a lot of work that client, that account rep, because each of our, in any company, you have your larger clients, and each of the larger clients, there's always, usually they're growing as well. So there's always more opportunity to do more work with them. But a lot of times you don't get to because either you didn't have time to reach out with a cool new idea that was perfect for them. Sometimes, Samar comes in and says, oh, here's this new distro piece. It's so awesome. And you think, man, this would be so great for XYZ customer. But you're so busy with these people that are just taking up all of your reps' times that they didn't get a chance to go and be like, hey, this new piece is out. It's perfect for your brand. We think that you should check it out. We're losing opportunities. And we're also not providing as good of customer service for the clients that we've kind of like built ourselves around. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no.
So being able to identify people that, and it's not like we're not sitting there like that guy's a jerk, I don't want to work with him. No, it's not like that. It's that particular brand is not a good fit for our company, or this particular customer is way too needy. We don't have time, and they're too needy.
So what are you doing? What are you doing with those customers, even if they do spend a good amount of money, but they're dicks? Are you, after that January meeting, like going to them and saying, you're not a good fit for us anymore? Or what's? No,
we don't actively fire clients, but what happens is the next time they come around, we will adjust. I mean, our prices and turn times adjust. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
sometimes we'll, I don't want to say we'll like jack the prices on them but for example, that usually happens because it's like, okay, well, we already know that this person's, they want photo approvals for stuff that doesn't need photo approvals. They want this and they want this and they want this. And it's like, okay, well, we'll do that. But if you want a photo approval, then here's the requirement for that. Here's the cost for that. And basically we basically make it worth our while. And to do that, we price them away. Right. And we also don't allow them to try and come in and say, okay, here's all of the crap and the hoops we want you to jump through. And we want them in 2 weeks. So we'll say, unfortunately, if you want it done with that type of stuff, then that adds this much time to the wait. And usually they will, and we'll give them, usually by the time we're done explaining those things and then us giving them a reference to someone else, they've figured it out at that point. Like, okay. And then usually what happens is they end up coming back later saying, hey, okay, how about we just do it, but without all these extra things? And at that point, we will reconsider it. But we don't go and actively like seek these people out and be like, you can't work with us anymore. But having that traffic. What
about the opposite though? The people that were on the bottom of the list that didn't spend a lot of money, like they had 10 orders that equaled 5,000. Next time they come around, is that when the referral comes out to be like, we think you're more suited for this person?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yep.
So you're trying to keep the sweet spot middle ground on everybody that's, someone that you can grow with and spend a lot of time on. That's more.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of our clients grow every single year, and there's a lot more opportunity each year with them. But if we're so busy, sending 10 email, art revisions and dealing with 10 phone calls and 27 email chains, like it's at that point, it's just not worth it. Right. I mean, I'm not getting the return. And it's stressing out my account managers when they don't need to be. They could easily take that time. Like we ran into a scenario where there was a certain client and they were red lighted and they were huge. They were a big, very big client. And it was like, everyone's like, oh my God, you're going to do that. And it's like, yes, because think of the time that we take with this particular client. Think of the time on press. Like there's complications on press with certain types of clients. There's certain ones that every time one comes in, your employees are like, oh my God, not these guys again. You know it. And that was one of this customer. And so for us, it was like, you know what? Yeah, we are going to do that. And yeah, that does seem dumb, but think of all the time we're going to free up on our presses to get other people's stuff done faster. Think of all the time on the front end we're going to free up. So maybe we can even, create a small sales routine for each one of the account managers, where right now all they do is really they're taking in orders. They're not really having to go out and get them. They just take them in. And, okay, now they've freed up a little bit of time so they can say, all right, this would be a great client for us. I'm going to reach out and try to be proactive here. Or, you know what, now that I have this extra time, I'm going to reach out to this other amazing client who every time we show them something cool, they order 2,000 of them, like spending their time that way. And that's that's on customers who we already know. Like I said, some of your best and my best customers place large orders with a single email. And that's it.
I love this traffic light report idea. There was one thing though, I wasn't clear on how you ran it. And that is, you said in January, you sit down and do this. Do you do that just for January, or that's for the whole year?
Whole year.
It's for the year before.
So you're just doing this once a year, and you're meeting everybody in your boardroom or whatever this is. And it's, I guess, the account managers, customer service specialists, those types of roles. And you're sharing your numbers, like you're sharing your revenues, because they're looking at it, right? Because you're putting in descending order, how much money people spent. And so they can see, right? I mean, you're comfortable sharing your revenue with certain part of your team, it sounds like.
Yeah. In that particular scenario, I'll have to pull up last year's. I think I sort in that order, but
if
then
you could go ahead and pull up last year's and tell us all the customers which ones specifically were the good ones.
So I think I cut the numbers off last year, and then I'll take I would highlight the bottom section and say everyone who's highlighted is less than 3K a year, something like that. Yeah. So I mean, I'm not mega secretive about, numbers and stuff with some people. I mean, like some of the people have access to them anyway,
right. That's
just
how
because to their job, like they just have access to them. And I try to let people know when we had a good month, I try to say, hey, you guys killed it. Thank you. We had a great month, broke a record. And then I'll also say, hey, you guys, like, you got anything in the works? Cause so far this month stinks, what's going on. So it's a little bit of everything, but for that particular report, I'll usually chop the numbers off, highlight the bottom, just let them know it's in, descending order. And, if it's a top 20 customer, a lot of times, and we're redlining them, they'll be like, whoa, what are we?
Right.
Is that a good idea?
I mean, I'm comfortable. I don't know about you, Dylan, but I'm comfortable sharing. I do that all the time where we say, okay, we had a killer month. We're up 26%, let's say,
Oh, finish it off.
Oh, you were talking to me.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
No, but I'm okay with that. And I think that's great to do because I think it's good to know, like if you're all hustling and it's been really busy and everybody feels the weight of that busyness, it's nice to know that, we had a great month because everything's reflected in that. Their raises, the benefits, just like you talked about. I mean, if you don't have killer months all the time, well, then you can't have, this healthcare plan they only pay 25% off. And so, I mean, that's how it works.
Yeah. And we try to do fun things. We do an annual sale where we charter a sailboat and go on a sail, and they love it. Like the first year I ever did that, I was like, that would be cool. We should do it. And then we went, and everyone was like, they were talking about it for weeks. Like they had the best time. So it's them, and I'll let everyone bring a +1. And it's awesome. And so after that, I'm like, well, we're doing this every year, but we also try and do like, we work with a lot of breweries and restaurants and stuff like that. So we'll go to a new brewery, we'll open up a new location, and the whole team will go, we'll shut down at 2, we'll have, food and drinks, and we'll just hang out. And we try to do that a couple times a year as well. And those are the types of things that, good months help pay for, basically.
Right. Yeah. I was going to ask you what, earlier on, you were talking about how a lot of your customers are like retail ready customers. Are you in a specific niche, or are you all over, or is it focused on like breweries and stuff like that in Maine?
No. So, I mean, yeah, I guess we are. We are in that specific niche. I mean, it sounds dumb that I wouldn't know what the niche is, but it's like we work with a lot of larger companies that just need the stuff done the right way. They mostly need it folded and in finishing of some sort. I mean, we have some that are like full retail ready, like custom special little like pin labels and like really, more elaborate like finishing details. And then we have some where it's like
barcodes and everything.
Yeah. And then some that are just fold and bag or fold only or that kind of stuff. But almost everybody that's putting in orders with us are selling these shirts somewhere else. They're not for the soccer team or whatever. Right. And so I guess that's kind of like our niche is taking care of those. We also have some very large corporate clients. And in those cases, they're being given to, their 1,000 employees or whatever. And those corporate clients come to us because they know we can handle the job and can get it done the way that they need it done. And that's, so, I mean, we love working with the breweries and the restaurants and creatives and stuff like that. And we definitely have a really awesome group of customers in that segment, but we still, do work with the less crazy creative big companies where they're like, this is our brand guidelines. This is our logo. We need X amount of pieces with this logo on it. And then we can do it. So,
right. Yeah. I feel like we're very similar in that. That's kind of a lot of what we're doing is everything's pretty similar. I saw that around November 2020 or so, you started a shirt of the month club.
Yeah.
Can you talk about why you decided to get into that and how it's going and what you've learned over the last year?
COVID really was an eye opener for, so many of us. There was a lot of fear and worry and doubt and that kind of stuff. And so I knew COVID ended up being for us, we actually grew through COVID. We were able to kind of ride the mask thing. We were able to ride the wave instead of try paddling from behind it. We were a little bit ahead of some people with that.
Well, you were also making the gators because we got some from you.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So we converted our sewing department and basically took like 300 Gildan hammer tees that we had just printed and turned them all into masks. And we were giving them away this is before like mask mandates or anything like that. People were worried if they were super high risk because no one really knew what was going on with it. So super high risk people. And then also people who were working at support staff for hospitals because like the nurses were getting N95s, but the cleaner people who were in the hospitals, they weren't. Or the security in the hospitals weren't, and that kind of stuff. So we started giving them away. And because of that, we saw like the demand because people were coming to us and be like, hey, can I have 500 of them? Can you make this many of them? We made as many as we could. And we gave everything away that we could until we ran out of supplies. But at that point, it was like, this is going to be a thing. So we brought in a bunch of masks and we had them. And I think we bought like 2,000 or 3,000 and we didn't even have them yet. And I sold them in 2 days. And so I think I ordered another 10,000 and then 3 days later, those were gone. And
now, did you start with the Bella Canvas ones? Those first ones that were on the market?
Nope. I was making my own overseas and bringing them in. So we have some factories that we work with. So certain custom things, we take care of ourselves. And so because we had them, we were able to sell them and sell a lot of them. Additionally to that though, so the masks and then the tip jar that we did also was great. And we wrote $150,000 worth of checks to local restaurants and businesses and people that didn't have the option to pivot because they were just shuttered by government mandates. They just didn't have, like a lot of us were lucky enough to be like, all right, we can get creative and pivot. Like a lot of those restaurants couldn't pivot. They were just
closed.
Screwed. Yeah. So we raised a lot of money with the tip jar and that kept us busy too. But then I really realized like we need some retail options because if this happens again, we may not have this option or that option. So we need something that people can buy online. And that's why we did Bottleneck Gator. And that's also why we did the Maine Shirt Club, because we needed something subscription based, because I think that's smart. I like that. And then we needed something that people could just buy online, which is where Bottleneck came in. And you can buy both online, of course, but I was trying to create revenue that didn't require business from, screen printing t-shirts that were ultimately going to be used for events or sold at places that were now shut down. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So
that's where that kind of came into play. And that's going good. We're growing it slow and organic. I know that Oklahoma Shirt Club had some, like that was insane and not really replicable. Is that the right word? That's hard to replicate. But it's been a lot of fun and I like how it's going so far. I think there's a ton of potential. What we're doing now is I wanted to grow it to a certain point, and then we're going to start doing a ton of collabs. There's a lot of amazing local artists in the Southern Maine and just in Maine in general. And so we're collaborating with small local artists and small companies, and allowing them to do a Maine shirt club in their style. And then we're able to then cross promote with them and say, hey, this month is, Hills and Trails. Like, if you like this style, check out their site here. You can find way more stuff that's very similar to it. Or, and vice versa. And then also we get to share their following. They check it out and they're like, oh, cool. This is cool. So we can get a legit like Maine artist design t-shirt every month for $12. So, I mean, I'm following the same kind of formula that, like TC is in Oklahoma, and I don't even know, maybe they're the only, I'm sure there's gotta be more than that, but those are the two that I know of that I'm sort of following that formula.
Right. No,
A little different sense. with the artist. I think that's my own spin on it, adding local collaborative efforts with artists. I just feel like it would resonate so much more with our demographic up here than just kind of like a cool Maine themed design.
Yeah, we've thought about it a little bit here and there, and I've talked to Tyler and Justin about stuff like that, and I'm kind of leaning more towards the fact of just doing a upstate New York or a New York like side brand than I am on like a subscription thing, just because I kind of want to do like more things. Like, I don't want to do a subscription because I kind of want to do like, I don't know, like hats and like other things. I feel like it would be different to not do all t-shirts every month. But I also like kind of like the same thing you were saying, like where I live in New York, there's very specific things that I feel like if I had made a, like a chicken Speedy shirt for like the Speedy Fest or something that kind of was like, if you're from here, you knew what they were, and like you would want that tee or whatever. So I have designs done. I've had designs done for months now. I don't know when I'm going to actually get to it. Like, I don't know when I'm going to push forward with that project because I've got so much other shit going on. It's like, I need to make a store for it. I need to print them. I need to have friends wear them. I need to like push them. And it's like, I don't have fucking time for that right now. Like, I would love to do it, but
the idea of starting a brand is like, especially where we've seen so many brands come into our own shops and like not do well. Like, it's so hard to start a brand, even if the designs are so awesome. Right. I mean, there's so much more that goes into it.
My thing with doing it isn't because I want to like start a brand. It's like, I'm so passionate about everything in the industry like that I kind of want to do it pass or fail to learn from what I did from that, to be able to help coach other customers, to be like, well, I actually did this myself and I see where you're coming from of like how this worked and how this didn't work. And then I can be like, all right, well, maybe you should go this route or help them through this, or the brand works. And like, I sell shirts here and there. Like, even if I sold a couple shirts a month, like literally a couple, I'd be like, cool. Like, I'm making cool art or printing some shirts. Like, who cares? It's not like it's hurting us in any way because we obviously have all the equipment and everything to make them here.
Right.
But for me, it's just like a learning thing of like,
well,
oh yeah, you can do this thing.
2 shirts a month, 12 months. That meets your 24 piece minimum. So you could do it.
Yeah, it's doable.
Yeah, it's doable.
Probably what's going to happen is I'm going to end up printing like a couple hundred of each, and then I'm going to have shelf space that have a couple hundred of each design sitting there.
Oh, I've done that before.
Oh, I've definitely done that before.
Yeah, I mean, shirt club. I think the sweet spot for a shirt club is 2,000 or 3,000 a month to grow it to that point. I think beyond that, things get a little bit too crazy and difficult. You know what I mean? And I think the only way to do it, I think the only people that have real options to do it are people who own shops. But then you have to be able to, like, 13 or 14,000 subscriptions would be insane. Like, that's a lot of shirts to print and fold and get fulfilled every single month. I mean, you're talking about.
It's not even just that though. It's the customer service. It's the returns. It's you need someone literally sitting there being like, oh, Susie said she got a medium when she ordered small, or there's a hole in this one and it needs replaced. And, oh, my package says it was delivered, but I don't have it. And it's just like, that's where like, even just doing fulfillment, it has nothing to do with the brand. It's kind of like, that's the difficult part in that. is just like the random customer service stuff that you have to do. And to have,
we've been really
13,000
fortunate.
a month or something, it's crazy.
We haven't had like, I think I listened to one of the podcasts where one of the guys was saying it's like, no matter what, no matter how many they had, it was like 15% like fail rate on the charges. And we have not seen that at all. Like I don't know what the percentage is, but it's so small that like, if we have one that didn't go through, they'll like call us the next day and be like, hey, I changed my card, like, or my card here's my new card number. So far, that's kind of what we've experienced. We haven't seen a big drop off rate. And overall, we've only seen maybe 3 or 4 cancel at this point. And obviously as you grow, those numbers all grow, but
right. I just wanted to see if it was working for you. I mean, I saw it. It looks cool. All your photos of it. And I follow that Instagram page too. And it's just like,
oh, cool.
Do it. I mean, it's cool. Like I'm, like I said, I like everything like that. So I hope it works out and you get up to 4,000 or whatever it is.
2 or 3. 2 or 3.
2 or 3 is the sweet spot. Sorry. Yeah. I don't want to overdo it. Andy, do you want to do listener questions?
Yeah, let's do some. I only have one question with lots of answers. But so if you want to start with one of yours, because I know there's 5 or 6 maybe to choose from.
Let me just look again and see if any got added. Maybe there's a magic question I'm missing. Let's see. Gabe doesn't have a question. He just wanted to say, "Hey, Drew, what's up?"
What's up, Gabe?
Gabe from maybe tomorrow.
Hey, Gabe. We know Gabe.
Yeah, Gabe's a good man. Let's see.
I guess he's up there too. He's not probably too far from. Well, he's in New York, but
yeah,
maybe just a few hours from Portland.
Yeah, we've been trying to connect on a call like for 2 weeks now, and like we just keep missing each other. It's not that hard. I don't know. It's, you know what I mean? Like, no, it's not on him. It's, it's just, we haven't been able to link up, or I'll be like, hey, I'm available right now. He's like, crap, I'm in this dinner or something like that. Let me hit you up later. And it's just, it's tough, but
yeah, I went to his place.
He's a good dude.
Yeah. It's a rad place. I love the dude.
He's amazing design mind, really, really well. Like his designs are awesome.
Let's see. What one do I want to do that we didn't kind of touch on already?
There's that Willis Prince one. You can kick it off with that.
Is lobster overrated? Scallops 100%. Are you a big seafood eater?
I'm embarrassed to say I'm not a big seafood eater, but the Maine lobster is the best. Like, it's not overrated. It's really, really good. The prices skyrocketed this year, like crazy amount, like $40 for a lobster roll or something. And people were still, lobster roll companies were still having the best years they've ever had,
Yeah.
busier than ever.
I was telling Andy before we got on that I used to be in Rotary. I was in Rotary for years. And one of the things they did here every year was they had this big like lobster fest thing. And it was at the fire station. And, hundreds of people came, and pretty much with Rotary, it's like anything we made from that day, it could be like 10 grand, 15 grand or whatever. We just gave to the food bank, like every cent, whatever.
Nice.
But what we did is we got up like early on, I don't know, whatever day it was, like Friday morning, and we'd drive to Maine, and we would literally get lobster fresh out of the water. Like they would, we'd pick it up, and we'd have like 2 trucks full of like coolers of like lobster, and we would just drive back, and like literally, the next day we would get up like early in the morning and drive all the lobster back, and then we would cook it that day. So it's like it couldn't get any fresher. It was literally like drive to Maine, get lobsters, drive back, cook them all. And it was, like I said,
where did you get them? Like in Portland?
I don't remember the place. Like I was just a passenger in the car. It was my first time to Maine. The hotel we stayed at was like a boat. It was like a boat turned into a hotel. And
they put a sack over his head.
Yeah, they put a sack over my head.
It's kind of weird.
I don't remember where I was, but it was rad. Like I loved it there. I was like, this is so cool. Well, the thing is too, is like, I can't eat seafood. I'm allergic to seafood. So like every restaurant we went to was like seafood.
Mm-hmm.
So I just
got that about you.
I just got steak everywhere we went.
That's what I do.
Yeah. I just can't eat it. I literally can't eat it. but no, it was just rad. Like, it was going to Maine. Like even me and my wife were talking this morning. We were trying to get like a beach house this summer, and she's like, the house we ended up getting refunded back to us because I think the family that owned the house, wanted to use it for that weekend or something. And she's like, where do you want to go? What do you want to do? And I was like, why don't we go to Maine? I was like, Maine was really nice. Cause I was thinking about this podcast doing with you. And I was also thinking about the lobster thing. I was like, Maine was super nice. Maybe there's a cool place to take the kids up there to like, just see Maine more.
Yeah. You got to come to Portland and hang out in the old port. It's awesome. You can do a Casco Bay cruise. I can take you on Sebago Lake. Sebago Lake in summer in Maine is like, it's the best place. Like, if you're from Maine in this area, I mean, anybody who, it's just gorgeous. August.
That's what I was
July,
thinking.
August.
It's just super nice up there.
Sebago Lake in July or August is just, the water is so clean and clear and fun. And we can take you out on the boat. We'll take your whole family out.
So Andy, are you meeting us there?
We're going to meet you there. And I have a feeling Sebago Lake is that lake that has that point. Yeah. He knows it's right. It's right behind you. That's what it is, right? So it looks like a pretty dope lake.
It's awesome. Yeah. We spend a lot. That's kind of like our thing, our family. We go out on the lake in the summertime.
How far is that from you?
That lake is, I mean, depending on, so we keep our boat. Well, I can't point to it. Yeah, I can.
It's behind you.
We keep it. I know. I'm trying to point at the thing there. We keep the boat right like here, or something like that. So to get to where we keep it, we're like maybe 30 minutes. Not too bad, but I can be at that lake in 10 minutes from my house. We just have to go up, to the marina that we keep our stuff at.
That's cool.
But yeah, it's quick and easy, and it's super fun. There's sandbars and beaches, places that you can.
How cold? I'm just curious because it's Maine. Like, how cold is the water if you're going to jump in the summer, middle of summer, like freezing cold to get in?
The warmest I think it got, according to my temperature thing on my boat, was like 86, 87.
Oh, that's pretty warm.
It's warm. Yeah. Okay. Super warm. Yeah. I mean, you're in June, probably you're in the 70s in June. And then by the end of July, you're in the 80s. All I'm hearing. Yeah. Yeah. And then you're in the 80s. I mean, it's very swimmable. It's totally floatable. We blow the floats up and float around. It's a beautiful spot.
One more question.
All right. I don't know if I want to get into this other one because it's super deep.
There's some deep ones.
I'm going to ask it anyway, but keep it short. And I'm just asking Drew because we've touched on this 35 times.
Okay. Which one?
How have shortages altered how you approach your daily routine? Does your ordering person just bash their head off the wall, or do they have it down to a science now?
She's amazing. She's got it down to a science.
She's got an SOP.
Yeah.
She also, she wants to bash her head off the wall, I'm sure, but she does a great job. Shortages, what we've started doing is the very first thing that we do is we have to obviously check the stock. Another thing that's negatively impacted us is that if it's something that, if it is in stock and they place the order, we can't risk losing the stock. So a lot of times we will purchase it before we receive the deposit, because too many times, if they take a week to get us the deposit and then a week later it's gone.
Do you just get like a verbal agreement from them of like, you're going to place this order basically?
Most of the time, as we've spent years weeding certain customers away and kind of focusing on a core customer base, we're usually very familiar with them. If it is a new customer, usually we won't do that. We'll just tell them like, hey, make sure that you get this, the dots, the I's dotted, the T's crossed, so that we can get these going because stock is moving fast. And usually that will get them to get it really quick to us. So that's really changed it because that affects, as you guys know, that affects everything. That affects cash flow. It affects all kinds of stuff. So that's one of the things that we've had to start doing. The other thing that we do is we basically will say, here's what's in stock, what you want's not in stock. Here's a couple substitutes. These are the colors that are available in the substitutes. And these substitutes will also be out of stock soon. So make up your mind quickly. And a lot of our customers have stopped being, they almost will come in and say, okay, what can I get?
That's pretty much what we're running.
And so, yeah, I mean, that's kind of what we're doing right now.
The funny thing is I literally just got a question in like a minute ago, and it was basically this entire episode, which is how do you turn down existing clients that no longer meet your new biz requirements? And that was mostly what we talked about. So
it's never really easy, honestly. And I'm personally not very good at it because I just,
well, you don't.
So I always say that I spent I grew my business for the first 5 years by saying yes. And I grew my business for the second 5 years by saying no.
Right.
Saying yes to every single person has you spinning your wheels. We would literally be doing nothing but just taking work that comes in, and in the chaos of that, we would not do a good enough job for our existing clients. And then, new customers coming in the front door and old customers going out the back door. And that's, I've been spending years trying to really cultivate this base of customers that we've worked with for a long time, and we trust them. They trust us.
I don't know if you made that up, but that's the perfect saying. You need to have that on a poster. That needs to be the fourth picture framed behind you. I spent the first, whatever you said, half of your company, 5 years. Yeah, saying yes. And then the next 5 years saying no, because I don't know. That makes a lot of sense to me. I need to start saying no way more. So I asked the question, what's the first thing you do in the morning? And I got a few answers I thought I'd read. Danny Stitches says coffee. Life of a Female Screen Printer says one sit-up when I get out of bed. # exercise. Gorilla Joe says take beet powder for blood pressure from being stressed. Somebody says wake up. That's Oneo Tavnav. I got that wrong, I'm sure.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. You said that.
Ryan Kasperian says cry. My City Screen Printing says wake up the kids. Marv Blast says take a shower and brush my teeth. I'm surprised everyone drinks coffee first. King Screen says he makes his wife coffee. King Screen is a Romeo. I don't know if you know that about him, but he is a romantic, that guy.
I don't know if you've ever seen his Facebook page, but every post is like how much he loves his wife.
How much he loves his wife. Exactly. He's making us look bad, Dylan.
Yeah.
Heads Up Screen Printing says, kiss my dog's snoot. Chitter Chatter says, shotgun a bush. And then war cry to turn all my bad feelings into good ones. He loves it. Wife hates it. Nar City says poop for an hour. Willis says sit on the toilet until his legs go numb. Ink Labs reads. I don't know if I could read first thing in the morning, like wake up and read.
No, not me.
Upstate Merch. He says bleep, 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 bleep. Can't put that on there.
Say
Upstate
what
Merch,
I said. Say what I
Upstate
said.
Merch also says another one, but we're going to we can't put on there. Okay, yeah. So fine. He says, tell your mom to clean herself up and get out of my house. and after that, he rubs one out. Then Arnold Prince says he showers. Then Chainsaw Betty says coffee before anything. And then you know what Hanson Screen Printing says? He makes his bed. I bet you Drew makes his bed too. He was in the military.
Yeah.
No, I don't.
I don't think I've made my bed since I lived at my parents' house.
Every single morning I make my bed. It's so easy.
The best part is I don't sleep with blankets.
What does that mean?
Most of the nights I literally am just fucking like in my underwear on top of blankets because I'm a hot mess. Like I'm so hot when I sleep that I just don't use blankets most of the time.
Your poor wife.
It's not the wife I'm worried about. It's the fucking kids. The kids walk in and I'm like a dead body asleep, like next to no clothes on.
Okay. Drue, do you have any questions for us?
Yeah, I mean, geez, I got tons of questions. I just don't know how long you want to go on all this. Like, I'm just meeting you guys, so I mean, like, I could ask you 1,000 questions over beer sometime. But
yeah,
I mean, you guys have already told your stories a bunch of times. You guys, is this a good year for you guys so far? Like, what are you guys seeing in your respective areas? Is this the best ever, or is this, recovery from 2020? Like, how are you guys doing?
You want me to go, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
I knew you did, you son of a bitch. It's the best. It's the best ever for us. I mean, like I said, every year has been the best ever so far, but like we've had way more growth in 2020 and 2021 than we've had in previous years. I think I've always been an advocate of like saying no, but like, I really like what you were saying is at the end of the year, evaluate it with your team and be like, who can we get the fuck out of here and who can we spend more time on? So I'm going to steal that shit for sure. We kind of did that a little bit, but it's not as much as like a meeting and actually like going through it like one by one would rule.
Do it in Excel and literally change the color on your computer where everyone can see it.
Yeah.
So it's like, all right, what's going on with this one? Click.
Yeah. Yeah. Other than that, I mean, like I said, I'm trying to cram being as efficient as possible and possibly getting 1 or 2 more presses and trying to find a way to make more room, which is why I'm trying to buy semi-trailers. My problem is I own my building and I don't want to buy another one. So I'm trying to fit as much in here as I can without it being overcrowded or anything. Like it's not overcrowded now. I'm just trying to be as efficient as I can. Other than that, I mean, chugging along, things are great. I'm trying to hire people, more people.
Are you guys having issues hiring people?
Mm-hmm.
Nope. No.
I would say that I'm probably not either. I mean, I don't have a line out the door when I put a want ad up, but I mean, I've hired 3 people in the last 2.5 weeks.
My problem is that I'm in such a rural area that I'm definitely not getting printers like at all. So like when shit happened last week and I was like, hey, I need an experienced printer. It was the only way that was going to happen is if I like paid like 10 grand moving expenses and like found someone an apartment and someone moved from another state. Like it was only going to happen that way. Pretty much what we ended up thinking is like, let's just hire a green person from here, train them all up, and me and Brian will figure out press for X amount of time until someone's trained enough to operate a press doing 1 to 2 color prints. And that's kind of what we're doing. We already had a guy, like we literally hired a guy like 2 weeks before this happened. And he was already doing a really good job. And he's to the point now where this last week he was like loading shirts, figuring out everything. Because before that, he was setting jobs up, tearing jobs down. Now this last week he was loading. So this week we'll probably get him doing like 1 color prints. And hopefully the following week he'll be in the next step and so on. So I'm probably going to be on press for a couple of weeks, but I think that's the only real way to go where I'm at is to just hire somebody who knows nothing about screen printing and teach them everything we know.
Do you guys find that? So what I've found lately is that restaurant workers make amazing print shop employees. They move, they understand the urgency of and not just any of them. I mean, someone who's kind of like been in that industry for a little while.
Right.
And I do not, because a lot of my friends and clients are restaurants and stuff. Like I would never try and hire away people or anything like that. But some of my best employees that came in green, their background is in restaurant, and they move and they move quickly. And, I guess I'm going to have to touch on the rock thing a little bit, but they're really easy to kind of step into and start using. They're very user friendly. And so, some of the people that we've brought in that have some hustle and actually like, a decent eye, can step right up and be printing within a week or two, like full blown, like printing on the auto.
Right.
But I found that restaurant employees make really great kind of non-experienced screen print employees.
Andy steals his from the bank.
Bank employees.
Not press ops, no. But yes, there's a few, well, not anymore, but we've had a couple of, where I bank, we've had a few people.
He just goes in and steals the tellers. He's like, hey, you want to work for me?
They hate seeing you coming in. That manager's like, get out of here. We like this one. Don't take it.
I think that's the best way though, honestly, Dylan, for you, even though like, so you're in a rural area. For me, my opinion is anyway, that's the best way to hire is somebody that's not a press op already. And that goes for you in your rural area and also for me in a big city, or not big city, but bigger city. And so I prefer it that way. And I do it just the same. So what would have happened in the scenario is if a press op would leave here, whether it was abruptly or 2 weeks notice, that a press assistant would then move in to fill that role.
That's cool.
Pretty immediately. They would already be setting up one colors. And so they would be able to run a press, basically a one color, print, black ink or something like that pretty easily. And so then it's just a matter of figuring out the nuances of the rest. And so I like that the best. And, oftentimes I would say that out of the 6 press ops or people that can run a press here, 1, 2, 4, only 2 of them knew how to run a press before working here. So
the other part of it was like,
assistants.
I just had that owner like mind race on Monday of like, all right, what am I going to do? And then I was talking to Ryan and Matt about like, they were making posts for me saying like, oh, Dylan's looking for people, hiring, all this other stuff. And we were going through scenarios and I was like, all right, well, a couple people hit me up. And then I was like, you know what? Like in this climate right now of people trying to hire as many people as they can, like who are the kind of printers that are left? And are they people I'm going to want? And I don't want to be that guy that steals somebody from another shop. And the shop that they decide to leave am I going to get their bad habits of like, I want to do things a certain way. And then they come in and they have their own ways. And I spend a bunch of money to move them and get them a place and find out that they don't like living in the middle of the woods, basically. You know what I mean? Like someone's like, oh yeah, I can move from, Cincinnati or whatever. And then they come here and it's like, cool, we have a McDonald's and Arby's and that's it. Like, I hope you like,
I would definitely be
hiking.
I would be looking for somebody that didn't have experience, that just lived in the area.
That's what we're doing. That's what I'm saying is it basically, it only took me a day to be like, all right, I'm not doing that. Like, I'm just going to find somebody here and train them. And it's just going to take a little longer, but I think all in all, it'll be better. You know what I mean? It'll be trained the way we want it and everything. And that's what got me thinking more of the SOP thing, because then I would already have like a handbook and I'd be like, hey, here, this is how we do everything. And here's some videos and whatever.
I mean, that way
you guys are, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say that way you can choose the person more than what their skill is, instead of choosing, I'm choosing this person because they can print. I'm choosing a person. You have 5 people that are applying and you choose the person you think is going to be the most positive or the most dedicated or whatever, has the most potential, instead of they can print so they can work here. It's never really worked out for
someone with a good attitude and a little bit of hustle and that kind of stuff.
Right.
Do you guys, I believe you guys are both using CTS machines, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And that's a game changer. Especially with bringing people in, like before we have a Douthit, changeovers took a long time and they took skill, took way more skill. Now with the Douthit in our setup process, I mean, we just click the screens and to go. And I mean, maybe you need a tweak, but usually you don't. A couple of years ago, maybe 3 years ago now, I can't remember. I think it was 3 years ago. I visited Stoked on Printing and
Vegas.
And I was talking to Kevin and, we were talking about expansion and all that kind of stuff and like what my next move was. And I was actually there because they had a P18 and I was checking out. I happened to be in Vegas anyway, checked out the P18. and we did end up getting one, but he was like, do you have a CTS? And I said, no, not yet. And he's like, you should get one, get that.
You should get that before you get the press.
Yeah. So basically and I was like, what? Nah, you know what I mean? Like until you really see the efficiency jump, you don't really understand it. And so I try to go on record in anything like this that I do for anybody else that's listening and say, there are probably people that are listening to this right now that someone has been like, you definitely need to get a CTS. Trust me, just get one. Like, I want to say it on the record. Trust me, just get one.
Right.
It is a huge difference maker. And what Kevin said about buying that and the impact that has is just as much as adding a whole new press is totally accurate.
Yeah,
it is
totally.
Changeovers are so much faster, and the skill level needed to get jobs on press reduces drastically.
Mm-hmm. And that was something like we've talked about in a few episodes, but me and Andy, I feel like both deep dove into over the last year or two of like pre-press, like dialing in the darkroom. I feel like a lot of people think of like cleaning screens and coating screens and imaging and everything as like a side thing versus like a really important thing. Like, I feel like if you dial in pre-press and get your screens like use the best screens possible, it's going to save you money and ink and time and, feel of your prints and everything. And then you dial in no human errors or little to no human errors with a CTS of like no light undercutting, a lot less pinholes.
A lot less pinholes. That's the thing that no one even told me about that. So I'll go on the record again. Like the amount of pre-press stuff you have to do, like your screens burn stronger and crisper, and you have way less pinholes, like way less need to tape every inch of the backside of screen. I mean, it's just so much across the board.
Well, there's other things too. Like we don't even use registration marks anymore unless it's like a sim process job. Like if it's a spot color job, there's no registration marks.
So you're not taping off.
We're not spending time taping off registration marks when 9.9 times out of 10, when we set it up on press, it's already registered. Yeah. So why would you go under each one and tape off all these registration marks when you don't need them?
Yeah. Back when we were a 2-press shop and we were going to add our screen room, we had a choice of adding the screen room or adding a press. And adding a press would have increased our production. We would have been 150% of what we were, or adding the screen room got us to the same point. And so it is exactly true. I'm going on record true also that a screen room, I call it a screen room because we added more than just the CTS that day at the same time. And, but it saved us so much time that it was like having a third press. And if we didn't do that before we got our third press and soon our fourth, we would not be able to make enough screens to even keep up with it all anyway. If we didn't make our screen room what it is now.
Right.
And our screen room is so good now that I gave a tour last week to somebody's husband that works here. And he walked in we got to the screen room, he came in, and Kyle was coating screens at the moment. And I'm like, yeah, check this out. Okay. So here's how we used to do it with, by hand. And I showed him our manual scoop coater. I said, this is great. I mean, it's fine. But first of all, it takes some time to learn how to do it just right. And if I were to do it, it would be different than if Kyle does it, than if Daniel does it or whoever. I mean, it'll look a little different. You're going to get a different EOM. Mm-hmm. But here this scoop coater is, I can train you in a minute right now.
You hit the green button
to coat a screen. And he just looked at me like, what? I go, here, grab the screen. Here's what you're going to do. You're going to set it in there. You're going to push the green button. And he goes, okay. And he did it 30 seconds and he coated a screen. He'd never even been in a screen print shop before, ever. And he coated a screen. So, I mean,
that's awesome.
Well, like I said, like if you go into a deep dive into your pre-press and darkroom and stuff, it's like exactly what you said is like getting an auto coder is like, okay, let's dial in our EOM to get the best possible print out of like our underbases or our top colors and so on. Like you want to know that stuff. You don't want to just grab random screens and be like, let's just print this shit. And then when stuff looks like shit, you're like, what did I do wrong? Oh, let's crank the pressure or let's like add a bunch of reducer to this. It's like you can solve all that by like figuring the variables out in the darkroom first. And it's the same thing. Like you said, you're super proud of your darkroom. It's like We were just talking about that recently after we hired Rich, and we bought like triple the amount of screens we've ever had. Now we have like no excuse. We have more than enough screens for everything. And we labeled them all. I got like custom labels made for them. And like I bought custom made aluminum racks for the dark room because I had a space where we had wooden racks made against one whole wall. And now for every row, I can add like another like 30 screens in the same area. So I can get another 200 screens in the same area as I could before, just to make it more efficient. And like dialing all that stuff in, now it's like we zero have issues with like screens. It's like any job they want to do, they're already like taped, ready to go. Everything's perfect. Like throw it on press, print it. It's like so rare now that we run into issues where we had before. And it's like you said, I can actually dial in and be like, all right, we're going to use this squeegee on this ink at this pressure. We should have consistent results no matter what. That's, I feel like, more important than being like, okay, well, we're bogged down on this and we're running into all these issues. Let's just buy another press. Just try to solve that issue of being a bottleneck. I feel like just spend the time and figure that pre-press shit out. It's so much easier.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys want me to go on record too? Do you want me to be the third party?
You didn't. You didn't so far.
Or do we want to be like the toothpaste commercial where it says 2 out of 3 screen printers recommend this product?
No, I wish I had like done it sooner. People had said like, hey, this is a game changer. And, that's the, if you were to ask me, hey, what's the one piece of equipment you wish you bought sooner? That's it. Yeah. That's the one.
Well, it's not cheap, it's a commitment because, you're at that. My head was like, look, we were running the Epson, whatever it is, 3470. I can never remember the number, but whatever that is.
Is it the big one?
The big one. And we were running it and it worked, right? Like it worked. Everybody sent their art to it, output files, and it worked. And so you're saying I have this thing that works and now I've got to go spend $55,000 or whatever on a machine that's going to do the same thing, but you can't look at it like that because it does so much more than make film. It saves, it makes, it's all about registration, most of it anyway. It saves you all that time on press. And so it's an awesome piece of equipment. You're right. We've talked about this, I don't know, a lot of times, but it's been a while. So
we should just start calling this the CTS show. Every episode we're talking about it.
That's right. You got any more questions?
When are you guys going to sell your M&Rs?
Did you have any other questions?
I'm kidding. I love M&R. Shout out M&R. They're great company. I've heard the some of your past ones when some people have said that. It's like you do the like sound effects, like the shots fired. Yeah. But no, I mean, yeah, like I said, probably over beers, a million questions, but you guys give advice all the time. You guys got any advice, like any tricks that you guys do, like for, that kind of stuff? Or is that just like a loaded question? Probably like a loaded question.
That's a good one. Super open question. I would say my advice is walk away from the shop sometimes.
Go take a nap in a Walmart parking lot.
Go take a nap at a Walmart or, kick everybody out, including yourself, at 5:00. I mean, not every day. I get it because, we're the busiest. So we had a record September and
congrats.
Thank you. I mean, you can't get it all done. You can't squeeze a record September in 8 hours. We couldn't anyway, not in our current position. We don't have the capacity to. And so that means some extra hours. Is it worth it in the end? I mean, I don't know. At these weird times, I mean, you don't know what's around the corner. And so I was taking it like while it's hot, we're printing it. I probably need to say no to at least 20 to 30% of our customers. But I would just say that my best advice is, and I've been doing this a while, is to close up at 5 and go home. More than you stick around the shop. And I get it. When I first started, that just wasn't even an option. But life is way more than being at this shop. I've spent a lot of hours. I've spent too many Saturdays, too many Sundays at this shop when I look back. And yeah, I mean, I'm happy to where it got me, but I think I could have still got there. Maybe it would have taken a little longer, but I like the idea of going home and going up to Lake. What is it called? Winnebago?
Sebago.
Lake Winnebago. Yeah, that was it.
That's where I want to go. That's for sure.
I think my advice to anybody that, I guess any person trying to get into a business or whatever, is to just make sure you're ultra passionate about it. Or just even with the shop, like I feel like there's so many screen printers that just like learn the basics of screen printing and then they just run with it. You know what I mean? They're like, oh, I know how to print. Like we were talking about the darkroom or any of that stuff. And they don't ever deep dive or they don't ever try new inks. It's like they find a white or they find a mixing system that gets the job done and they stop. You know, they're like, okay, I figured that thing out. Let's just make more shirts and make more of this and whatever. It's like, take the time and like get samples of stuff. And like, I don't know, Andy wants to leave at 5 o'clock. At 5 o'clock, I want to be like, okay, let's try these 2 different things and see which one works better. I don't know. I just feel like learn stuff, listen to podcasts, watch a shitload of YouTube videos and like take the best knowledge from them and make the average and, you know, try things and test things. I just like, even just, I feel like I've always done that in my career in this industry, but over the past like 2-3 years of like doing the podcast and more and more stuff coming available on YouTube and stuff like that, it's like, I've learned so much shit that I'm like, I feel like I was stuck in my ways a little bit with like, oh, this is how we do this thing. And, you know, I find out from you or, you know, these other people that we have on the show, like, yeah, I did that, but now I'm doing this and this is so much better. Like the thing with saying no, like I've always said saying no, but like, I'm still guilty of like a job comes up and Sarah's like, you know, oh, should we take this one? And I'm like, yeah, we could do it. It's challenging, but like, let's do it. When realistically, I probably should fucking say no. And it's like hearing it from you and like 10 other people. And even in my own mind, I would be like, I would tell someone to say no, but it's just like, now I'm like, it's more, you know, concrete in my head of like, I should just fucking say no. And then it's better. I'm better off. You know what I mean? And I don't know.
Yeah, a lot of times the yeses are just holding you back.
Yeah.
That's the hard thing to kind of wrap your head around when you're like, no, it's another order. Like, isn't that the point? You print more orders, but you do realize at a certain point, certain types of orders, they're going to hold you back every time. So you got to.
So I just think education, like, I think you should just dive into it and you should visit people. Like if I want to go to Maine, like I'm going to stop at your place, like go to other people's places and see how they're doing shit and talk shop. And I don't know. That's like one of my favorite things to do is to just talk to other people and learn from their mistakes and just keep moving on. That's really it, I guess.
So I have another question. This one's not as open-ended. What's next for you guys? Like, what's your next big move?
Andy, what's your next big move?
I ordered another Cobra. And so it's,
nice.
I think it takes a while to build. And so it's not coming this year. So I'm like you in that I have to do a major move. I have to spin a dryer 90 degrees and move an 8 color over across the shop and then make room for another press. So, I mean, so it's a good thing really that it's not coming until February because I'm going to need a couple of weeks, I think. And when I say a couple of weeks, I mean, I have to get everything, you know, I have to cut a hole in the roof for a new exhaust for the dryer, 2 holes actually. And I have to run gas pipe to it and I have to drop electricity, you know, and stuff like that. So I can do that before. We won't be down the whole time. Right. I guess it's not as bad as you because I'll have 2 presses and a dryer running while all that's happening. You know what I mean? And that'll be there's a few weeks in January where we're slow enough where 2 presses should be able to cover it.
Yeah. For me, I don't need to move any presses. I'm moving. Yeah. The only equipment I have to move is my sewing department and my embroidery department. And then the manual area is going to get shifted down. But when I moved into this space, mapped it out. Like I mapped out full blown expansion to the gills. And now we're getting to the point where we're probably going to be, making moves on that last part of the expansion. So for that reason, I have to take, like, right now where 2 of my presses are going to sit is my receiving area. So I just have to move stuff. So I've got it way easier than you. I don't even need to call an electrician. So, which is nice, because I feel like do you guys feel like you employ electricians like year round? Like you just have one on staff?
Yes. My electrician, he's a great dude. And I feel like I put him through shit. But like every time he's here, I feel like he feels like he's done. Like he's accomplished what I needed. And it's always a big project. And I'm like, all right, we're good. And then I'll call him like a week later. I'm like, hey, you know how you just ran like all these whips for like flashes and stuff? Like I'm actually adding another flash and press over here. And like, you need to run all new conduit over there. He's just like, fuck my life. Like I can tell he's just like not into it. Cause the dude I have is like great local dude, but he's on the verge of like retirement. And he's just taking jobs that like, he wants to do. And he wants to help me out, but they're like big jobs. You know what I mean? I was like, I just had him change like up our service. And like, he had to call like NICEAG to come out and like do all these things. And it was this huge ordeal. And he's just a rad guy, but it never ends. Like I'm never going to not have to have him here like at least once a month, I feel like.
Yeah, for sure.
But my expansion plans, I guess right now, I'm trying to possibly hire another 3 people, some office people, some shop people. I'm talking to M&R right now about possibly getting another press or maybe 2. I'm trying to expand on my finishing department and make it more of like a solid area where it's all in our flow to where it's over by shipping, receiving. I don't know, like just more of that. I feel like I'm done with the dark room for now. I feel like next year I might look into getting a laser instead of the ink jet eye image I have now. And then probably in another year or 2, I'll probably look into getting a digital squeegee.
Okay. Wow. For like, just for speed, or just like,
I feel like I'm in that camp of my gauntlet is doing like nothing but 8 to 14 color prints every day, like all day, every day.
And a 14 color press shouldn't be doing that.
Right. Well, I'm just saying is,
and if you don't want to spin once, it's just not going to work.
Well, that's what I'm saying is most of the jobs that are on that press are, the 8 to 12 color print. And it's like every day, all day, tons of screens, tons of ink mixing. It's pretty much what the digital squeegee is meant for.
Well, didn't I hear you say that you do some fulfillment, but you don't print like once a week or something?
We were in the beginning when I first started doing fulfillment. I was trying to figure out the best way to do it. And the original way that we started it, which wasn't the best way to do it, was I was basically taking orders a week. And then on the Wednesday of the following week, we were printing all the orders. And it was like, we were just trying to continuously print stock every week. And it got to the point where I was just like, I made a new plan. And there's this whole thing now where they agree to us always having 100 of each design on the shelf. So it's less often we're printing. There's this whole thing. But
yeah,
I mean, there's a design, like we just did a bunch of stuff for John Mulaney, and we're still doing it, where it's literally a picture of his face. And it's like every time we set it up, it's like half and half hybrid of like sim process and CMYK. Like we're using some CMYK inks to like get it. And then we're doing spot colors on top. And it's like, dude, this would be so much easier if we just had a digital squeegee to do like pictures of this dude's face. And it's like,
if your pressure's off even a tiny little bit,
right? And then like
one color, and then the whole thing.
The other part of it is too, is it's like, okay, like you print it like, 1,000 of these shirts or whatever, and then you go take lunch and you come back, and then you got to warm everything up to the point again. And the wet on wet has to get worked in. And it's like all this stuff. And it's part of it. It's cool. It's like, it's what we're doing. It's fine. But like, there's certain applications we're finding more and more, we're getting into this niche market of more and more like high color count stuff. It's like, I don't want to switch all that to digital by any means, but there's certain jobs like that job where I'm like this, like we have the tool, it's here. We have no issues doing that job. Because again, it's not like the 12-piece orders. It's the people that are like, hey, I need 3,000 of this every 2 weeks. And I've just been waiting it out. I've been waiting out like issues and bugs and stuff. And I feel like I've been to enough shops now that have had a digital squeegee long enough to where they're like, we're trying to buy a second one. And when I hear people being like, I want to buy a second one, I'm like, okay, it's probably time for me to get my first. So I don't know. We'll see how it goes.
That'll be big.
Yeah, it'll be a big deal. But that's where I'm at.
That's nice. It's good to hear things are going well, both shops.
Yeah, really well.
Thanks, man.
I'm not surprised to hear it, but it's good to hear.
Okay, well, thank you. Do you have any shop hacks or office hacks? Any kind of life hacks?
I mean, I think I did. I said them already. The traffic light report, I think,
that was
is
a good
key.
one. Yeah.
In the saying no thing, those are two.
Spend more time on the boat.
Yeah, I mean, be nice to your employees. I mean, this is all basic stuff, right?
Yeah.
Treat them good. I give them their birthday off. They love that.
Oh, really? That's a good one.
Yeah, they get their birthday off.
Like a paid birthday off?
Yeah, it's paid.
No, you're like, go home, no pay for you today.
Yeah, but hey, it's a holiday. Little things like that go a long way, I think. Just with quality of life and feeling appreciated and that kind of stuff. So,
yeah.
If you take care of your team, they'll take care of you, and I think that's why I can go on the boat sometimes. If there's a nice day, or it's why I can get up in the morning and have coffee with my wife and check my email at a semi-leisurely pace, before I roll in, because I know I got people who care about me and my business in the offices. So,
right.
I mean, it definitely makes it a lot easier.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's do some quick takes and see how those go. You want me to start it off?
Yeah, start it off for us, Dylan.
What's one thing you need every morning? He gets to answer now. Don't say coffee.
I guess it could be need or do.
That's a tough one. I mean, I don't even eat breakfast. I'm working on that kind of stuff. I get up and I check my email. It's just nothing. I don't do anything weird or like interesting. I wish there was some weird, quirky thing that I did, but it's pretty normal.
Do you immediately, like, as soon as your eyes open, you roll over and grab your phone and like?
I do. Yeah.
I'm super guilty of that. I'll do it throughout the night. That's where I'm at.
Not me.
Like, I literally, if I wake up in the middle of the night and I roll over, I grab my phone and I look at it real quick and I see like, what DMs do I have, or like who texted me, or like what emails came in. I don't know why. I'm just like it's literally a problem that I'm like addicted to my phone. But there's so much shit that comes in. There's so much like business emails or payments or whatever. Like, I just get notifications and I'm guilty of checking it. But that's my first thing when I wake up in the morning is I lay there for like 5-10 minutes and I like scroll through my emails and like see how my day's going to start.
Yeah. The first thing I do is probably check my, my Robinhood portfolio. Like, what's crypto doing today? Is it in the toilet again, or did it go up? Like, I look at that and then check my emails and stuff. But yeah, then I make coffee and then I check my emails on my computer and then I roll out after that.
It's not a bad morning.
No.
Do you have a main street?
Andy wanted to know if there was a main street in Maine. And I was like, dude, there's going to be a main street in Maine.
There's like every town has a main street in Maine. Like everyone.
I think every town anywhere has a main street.
We have those in Maine too.
I saw, are you on Karen Street?
Karen Drive. Yeah. Yep. We're just so, Portland is awesome. The waterfront, South Portland area. It's really amazing. Great restaurants and breweries and companies. not, as you know, in any area, you have towns that are better to do business in than other towns just because of different rules and regulations. So I'm just over the border of Portland in a town called Westbrook, because Westbrook is really awesome to own a business in. They're, inviting, they're helpful. They want you there. I'm not saying Portland doesn't, but, when I was looking for this next space, like, my real estate broker that I've been working with, since the beginning was basically like, do not get something in Portland, like stay on the outskirts. So we're just a tick past the border. We're not on Main Street, but
I'm trying to look at it on MapQuest right now.
Yeah, it's like a suburb.
Yeah.
I think it's attached, right? Like you don't go to a whole different town. It's not like you have to drive and there's farmland. It looked like almost it was just a suburb.
Yeah, it's a town right next door to Gorham. I live in Gorham, and then there's Westbrook in Portland. I'm probably like 12 minutes from my shop.
You're pretty south. You're not that far up into Maine, where it's probably not that far of a drive for me.
No. Yeah, we're not in northern Maine at all. It's very southern Maine. Like we go to concerts in Boston and that kind of stuff. We're not too far.
That's cool.
We get stuff going on.
Sweet. All right, next question. Sorry. I was mapping. Best recent read, listen, or watch?
Well, currently I'm reading a book called Bitcoin Billionaires, which is just it's the story of the Winklevoss twins, just because a friend had recommended it, said it was a good read. I also really like Shoe Dog. I think that's a great book that's easy to read and kind of like inspiring. Those are two. I mean, that's one that I've read in the past that I recommend. Like I had my oldest son read it, and I tell people they should definitely read that one if they haven't already. I mean, it's a pretty like well-known book, so most people have. But
we almost got to that. That's the Nike one.
Yeah,
you should read the Vans one. Authentic.
Yeah, the Vans one's good. That's for sure.
I'm actually in the middle of the Vans one too. I've got that one, and I have the Bitcoin one going right now. I read at night, and I read basically as much as I can before I just need to go, just pass out. So sometimes it's a chapter and sometimes it's 5 chapters, but I just pick away at it. I'm not like a super crazy avid reader, but I try to read every night.
What advice would you give your younger self?
Start sooner.
I think everybody says that.
Yeah. I mean, I try to like, again, with my kids, I try to teach them as I go. So like sometimes I'll learn something one day and I'll come home and I'll be like, Liam, come here. Like, let's talk, check this out. Trying to just pass it on as quickly as I can and not be like, someday he'll ask me and I'll give him I try to like pass it right on, like, right. I know it for a solid like 6 hours and I'm already trying to like pass it on, I guess. I would probably say find a mentor or, and I had a mentor, my dad and all that. He's more of a mentor now, probably. Cause he's just super smart. He's a manufacturing excellence. I don't even know. Like he knows everything, it seems like. So he's, one of those guys that can go into a factory and tell you like, okay, this machine needs to be closer by this much. And this, he does that kind of stuff. But I think like if I could go back when I was younger, I'd say just definitely like don't go to college. This is just for me personally. It's for me personally.
You did say definitely.
For me, for sure. For me, don't go to college. Start your own thing. Cause I think my brain worked well for this before I knew it did. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I was, I wish I had known sooner or felt like this was something that I could do sooner than when I finally just did it.
No, I think I stumbled around too until I figured out what I really wanted to do. I mean, sometimes people do that in their whole life. So, I mean, you know, I guess I'm pretty lucky to have figured it out in my early 20s. But, and also for you, you know, you said start sooner, but, you know, you had a family and, you know, a mortgage and all that kind of stuff. And so, you know, you started to do it as your side hustle and on nights and weekends and everything until that's a tougher spot to be in, you know, than maybe a single guy or whatever, because then you just risk it all. It doesn't matter. You know, you don't have people, you know, depending on you. And so, and you did it the best you could. You know, I don't know how you could have done it faster. Apparently you do.
I don't know. Maybe. I mean, I don't know. I feel like I probably gave a really generic answer. It's either that or it's like something like buy a lottery ticket or bet on, you know, this or something like that. But no, I mean, I do. I feel pretty blessed and fortunate to have kind of found the path that I feel like I'm supposed to be on. I know a lot of people don't always find that. And I definitely feel like I found that. So to find that at any age is definitely a blessing, and I'm thankful for it. But there's always that, like, man, if I had started this in my early 20s instead of I think I started this at 28. Mm-hmm. So if I got a 10-year head start on it,
right.
Just be a little bit further along, but hey, I'll take it.
What would you be doing if you didn't own a print shop?
Oh my word. I don't know.
Was there another hobby you were into that you wish you pursued or could be pursuing right now?
Jeez. I mean, I like surfing and snowboarding
But are you good enough to make money at it?
No. No, not even a little bit. I'm good enough to have a good time without hurting myself. I don't really know. I've never really thought about that. I don't really know. I knew that I didn't want to keep like doing what I was doing. So I feel like I definitely would have fallen into a different thing and done something similar, but I don't know what it would be. I don't know where that exactly would be. I definitely feel like this is what I was supposed to do. All the things tying back, like even when I was in the military, I used to ride motorcycles with a bunch of friends and I had some shirts made like for our little group and I didn't even have them made. I mean, I bought the paper at Walmart and like printed it and then did the iron on like a white Hanes t-shirt. You know, like, but it's just something that as I go back and when I was a kid drawing on t-shirts, just something that I feel like I was definitely supposed to find in a bigger way.
Right.
So I don't know.
So you had your office job, and then the question then would have been like, what would you be doing if you didn't have this office job? And then it would have been screen printing. So you're already there.
Yeah.
So you don't need to answer that question. All right, Andy, finish her off.
What's for dinner tonight?
I have no idea. Probably leftovers. There may be some pizza in the fridge. The Patriots are about to play and Tom Brady's coming back to Gillette. So, buffalo chicken dip is what I'm getting tonight. So
just eating a bowl of dip.
Buffalo chicken dip. I don't know what I'm going to have to dip it in, but I will find something to dip into that buffalo chicken dip and watch the game too. And that's what's for dinner.
Sounds amazing.
It's pretty solid. But hey, Drue, thanks for coming on, man. We really appreciate talking to you. I really like diving into this one. And hopefully we can do those beers and 900 questions at some point. I'm definitely down to hang out.
Yeah, for sure. I think if you guys are ever in the area, please look me up.
For sure.
Yeah, if you don't already have, I think I got Andy's cell now. Because of the technical difficulty earlier. But definitely look me up. I mean, even if we're not here in the summertime, I can take you to some really great local places and show you around a little bit. And I'd love to do that.
Yeah, for sure. I'm definitely down. Like I said, I'm not really that far. So
I've never been to Maine and it's super high on my list. Like I really want to get there. So might be sooner than later.
Yeah.
Hey, For sure.
Let's do it. Well, have a good night, man. I hope that dip's really good, and I hope the Patriots win.
Yeah. We're going for the Patriots. I don't know if that's going to happen, but we're going to hope.
All right.
Hey, it was really fun, guys.
Yeah, have a good night, man.
All right, take care.
Later.